And we're just, Madam, good morning. Hi, Madam Clerk. We're just awaiting Councilman Anderson, I believe.
Yes. And the solicitor.
Miss Lister, yes, okay.
IT, can you bring in Pastor Banner, Bruce A. Banner?
I don't see anyone by that name.
Madam Clerk, do you see Pastor Banner?
I don't. I was just getting ready to reach out to Miss Williams. She was my POC.
If not, in the next minute, we just have somebody, I'll request you or Mr. Harris to do the opening prayer.
You and me, brother.
Okay, pick a number between 1 and
3.
1. I don't have any problems doing the opening prayer.
Okay, Madam Clerk, you can start the meeting, 7:03.
This is 7:03. This meeting is called to order. Roll call. Councilman Nathaniel Anderson.
Present.
Councilwoman Rebecca Perone.
Present.
Councilwoman Dr. Tiffany Worthy.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Samantha Whitfield.
Present.
Mayor Kay McIntosh.
Present.
We will now have our opening prayer by our township manager, Mr. Harris. Thank you, sir.
My pleasure. Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, God Almighty, we just like to thank you for the grace and the mercy and the favor that you have shown and bestowed us upon this year of 2022. Father God, as it comes to a close and we gather here this evening to take care of the final business for the Willingboro Township, we ask that you just give us your guidance, give us your direction, allow us to work in justice and efficiency for your children, the residents of Willingboro. God, we will be sure to give you always praise and honor and glory for all the light that you have shown on this community. And just allow these, your servants, to be more perfect vessels for your service as we move into 2023. And always keep your hands of protection around us and fill us with your love. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. We'll now stand for our flag salute, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In compliance with the Open Public Meeting Act, this is to announce that adequate notice of this meeting was provided in the following manner. On January the 10th, 2022, advance written notice of this meeting was posted on the bulletin board in the municipal complex and was mailed to the Burlington County Times, the Intelligencer, and the Courier Times. On January 10th, 2022, advance written notice of this meeting was filed with the township clerk. The clerk is directed to enter into the minutes of this meeting this public announcement. And Mayor, just before we get started, some administrative, ordinance 2022-18 was duplicate and is deleted. Also on page 2, the treasury report, there is no treasury report for approval and adoption, and there will be no approval of minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Very welcome.
Councilman Anderson, you have you have a proclamation today?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
all right. Due to my absence at the last couple of meetings, due to personal responsibilities, I was unable to read this proclamation earlier, but I would absolutely be remiss if I didn't read it before the year ended. So this proclamation is honoring Captain Tiffany A. Worthy, Delta Sigma Theta sorority. Whereas Captain Tiffany A. Worthy, a graduate of West Point, served in the United States Army and was deployed to Operation Iraqi Freedom and received the Bronze Star Medal. And whereas Captain Worthy is a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and whereas Captain Worthy, we are pleased and honored this year to pay tribute on this day to the dedicated veterans who have served this great nation with such distinction, both in peacetime and in war. And whereas Captain Worthy, our community has a continuing sense of gratitude to those who have given so much in defense of the freedoms which we all continue to enjoy. And whereas Captain Worthy, Americans have an abiding faith in the ideas and strengths of which our great nation was founded, and our democratic process, and in the men and women of the armed forces who have served our country so well. And whereas Captain Worthy, in honor of your dedication, we pledge the continued defense of our nation so that your sacrifice will stand before the entire world as a tribute to the spirit and determination of the people dedicated to the principles of freedom and democracy. And whereas on this patriotic occasion, let us all commit ourselves to the great need of fostering a spirit of rededication to the ideas that have served as the foundation of this great country. Now, therefore, Captain Worthy, we salute you on this Veterans Day. Be it further resolved, I, Mayor Kaya T. McIntosh, along with the Willingboro Township Council, urge all of our citizens to honor our veterans and rededicate themselves to the preservation of our liberties under the Constitution. One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Signed, Kaya T. McIntosh, Mayor. So we as a council would have been absolutely remiss if we didn't read this into the record for your service as one of our colleagues and team members. So once again, I wanted to make sure this was done before the year ended, and it's a well-deserved honor, and I'm happy to have the honor to, work with you, your leadership, your dedication. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Yeah, we definitely salute you, Dr. Worthy.
Thank you so much. It was an honor to serve.
Before we get into the manager's update, I did just want to start off with the cannabis discussion. We were supposed to vote today, but as many of you are aware, the Township Council received qualifications, proposal packages from business entities interested in operating a Class 5 recreational retail cannabis business in the Township of Willingboro. The council spent a significant time reviewing the proposal packages and interviewing applicants at a special meeting yesterday, December 19th, 2022. Since the cannabis statute and regulations have just recently been legalized and approved in the state of New Jersey, we are in what many would call an uncharted territory. So upon further review and deliberation with our legal counsel, and in order to be as fair and as transparent as possible to any and all interested applicants, it has been decided to postpone any decision at this time and to advertise in the newspaper and website for the request of qualifications to operate a Class 5 recreational retail cannabis business in Willingboro. We will work with the clerk to accomplish this as soon as possible. I don't want anybody to think whoever submitted an application that they're not being considered. We just want to make sure we were fair and transparent in the process and deliver the best and thoughtful process for this new territory that we are exploring. So this is not a yes or no, this is just a delay in an answer, as we just make sure that we dotted our i's and crossed our t's. So we will be postponing the decision. We will not be making a decision tonight. We will be postponing that. And we will let you know as soon as possible. Madam Clerk, I'm sorry, Manager, Township, Mr. Harris, you can proceed with your manager's municipal updates.
Thank you, Mayor and governing body members and residents of Willingboro. I want to start my brief comments this evening by informing the residents of adjustments that are going to be made to the trash collection in light of the Christmas and New Year holiday. Most municipal governments and county governments are closed on Monday in observance of Christmas and New Year Day. However, Republic will be opening and operating on Monday. But because the dump will be closed, they will only be able to come in and do a single collection or what they can do on an initial run, because they will have no facilities to dump. So on Monday, if your trash does not get collected, please leave it curbside, and they will recover that on Tuesday, and thus begin their Tuesday collection routes and continue on Wednesday if and as necessary. Just some reflective thoughts. Tomorrow I will be celebrating my first anniversary since arriving last December in Willingboro, and I'm very excited about the work that we have done this year. But I'm even more excited about the foundation that we have laid in the future successes of Willingboro Township. Over the last year, we have made several administrative changes to improve workflows in our departments and staff, to ensure that the needs of the residents are met more efficiently and with less delay. As an example of those changes are security guards and communication staff, which was formerly operated under the direction of the IT director. After an extensive evaluation, our security staff was repositioned into the police department, and our communication staff now works within the township manager's office. And I hope that everyone can acknowledge the improvements in both of those areas. And these are just a few examples of how we were working to improve the day-to-day functionality of the municipal operations in the township. In addition to this, we have taken steps to expand our emergency services to increase our emergency response time. This year, and for the first time, Willingboro hired 4 full-time EMTs and 1 supervising EMT to provide emergency services during the daytime shift for 7 days a week. In the new year, we plan to hire 4 additional full-time EMTs to cover the night shift for 7 days a week. The council was very gracious to add $248,000 into the township budget to cover the costs of the additional personnel. And the projection was that we need to generate $540,000 in revenue for this to be self-sustaining. I am very happy to report that as of the last financial reportings, we are just $8,000 shy of that amount. Again, as of the last reporting of earnings for 2022, and we project to be over that by the end of the year. Just during the months of October and November, we received twice the revenue of last year during October, November, and December. But more importantly, we will be able to provide sufficient emergency services to our residents in Willingboro without being held hostage by our neighboring communities. Our infrastructure in town was also a top priority to us this year, as clean energy and efficiency became a more significant priority in our society, especially as we all have felt the impact of increasing gas prices. We've made steps to ensure Willingboro's positive impact. We had 4 electric vehicle charging stations installed behind the municipal complex for the convenience of electric vehicle drivers. And I've been happy to see that even now as we are meeting, there were 2 vehicles plugged in. Next year, the township will actually take possession of its first 2 electric cars that were purchased this year to complement our fleet and further our commitment to clean energy. In addition to that, we have been investigating an energy savings improvement project, commonly known as the ESIP, that hopefully will provide much needed LED lighting ventilation, heating, and energy upgrades at the municipal complex, the JFK Center, the Willingboro Free Public Library, and the Public Works Facility. From an infrastructure standpoint, we have completed the Bolton and Balford Lane sinkhole repairs, and we will soon be starting the Buckingham Drive culvert repairs very soon. Repairs to the Vanskyver Bridge, as well as the Phase 2 paving on Pennypack. The upgrades to our amphitheater in the Willingboro Town Center are finally complete. And next year, the amphitheater will be a staple in our community, serving as a venue for entertainment such as summer concert series, a place to meet up and connect with friends, families, and much more. And next year will be another transitional year or transformational year in Willingboro. And we have many exciting projects and events coming your way. We hope that you stay connected with us by participating in these council meetings, as well as by way of our social media channels and the website. And I just want to take this opportunity to wish everyone a very happy holiday. And those are my updates for this evening.
Thank you. And you can proceed to the explanation of the ordinance and the resolutions, please.
So for your consideration or for public hearing and final reading is ordinance number 22-16, which is an ordinance establishing employee reimbursement agreements and township repayment obligations in pursuit of certifications or licenses. We have many individuals in the township that are utilizing township resources to further their expertise, which we do encourage. However, as we invest in our employees, we want them to have some type of commitment to us and as far as time for that investment. Unfortunately, not only here in Willingboro, but this is a problem that is, dealt with in many municipalities. Persons will get a certification and then leave a township's employ for better opportunities, with the township essentially footing the bill for their personal gain. So we're just putting an ordinance in place that if you benefit by receiving a certification, a state certification or a license at the expense of the Willingboro residents, that you have to spend some time with us so we can recoup some of our investment in you. So that's what this ordinance kind of deals with. Ordinance number 2022-17 is an ordinance to increase certain fees and rates that are charged by the township. I did send a pre-advanced copy to the body members so you can review some of those proposed changes so we can have a very fluid conversation in any of the areas as you see fit. As far as resolutions, resolution 2022-196 is a resolution approving the 2023 holiday schedule for Willingboro Township employees. Most of those holidays are agreed through contractually, but we do like the council to give their stamp of approval on those holidays. Resolution 197 is authorizing the approval of vouchers for payments and ratification. Resolution 198 is a resolution accepting the Willingboro Township's planning and implementation agreement and proposed mapping for the New Jersey State Planning Commission's Township Plan endorsement. As I announced at our last meeting, we did receive a plan endorsement from the Planning Commission contingent upon our adoption or acceptance of the implementation agreement and the proposed map. So this is a resolution asking you to approve that or accept that implementation agreement and approval of the proposed map. Resolution 199 is a resolution authorizing a change order for a contract with ARH for the consulting engineering services for the Willingboro Town Center Amphitheater project. That project is complete from a construction standpoint, but there are some final inspections and checklists that need to be completed. All in, we're going to need about another $27,000 for inspection fees for the engineer. That includes bills that we have already received but haven't paid yet because the funds were just not there. So we are asking for an additional 30,000 just in case there are any additional contingencies that were not anticipated, so we can pay the engineers, and then that project will be complete. Resolution number 200 is a resolution for budget transfers of the Township of Willingboro to meet the requirements for operating the affairs of the township. As you know, a budget is a plan for spending where we appropriate certain amounts to different budget line items. And sometimes we overexpend in some areas and underspend in others. And this is just moving monies from areas that we have excess funds to cover areas that we have gone over in our budget. We are not extending the budgetary amounts, we're just covering shortfalls in line items. Resolution number 201 is a resolution authorizing refunds of overpayments of taxes. This is pretty standard and familiar to the governing body, where at certain times homeowners duplicate tax payments or receive veterans exemptions and are due a reimbursement. And we're just asking you to authorize the refunding of those overpayments. Resolution number 2022-202 is a resolution asking to renew the Southern New Jersey Regional Employee Benefit Fund Indemnity and Trust Agreement. I don't know if you recall, last year we had this discussion that prior to re-entering back into the state health plan, that we were in another plan under which the dental coverage was. When there were certain people who had retired under that plan, and I believe there were only 2 or 3, and there was like 1 left for 2023 that was still receiving benefits under that plan. And as long as we have the 1 member still on that plan, we need to renew. I believe the annual cost to the township will be about $254 for the year. So it's not an extensive expense, but it is a requirement as long as we have members that are still covered under that plan, that we renew that plan. And those are all of the items that I am presenting for your consideration this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. We will now open up the floor for public comment, and this is only for agenda items. Again, this is for agenda items only. Anything that was discussed by Mr. Harris now. You have 2 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record. Public comment for agenda items is now open.
Martin Knock.
Good evening. 2 things. One is I was looking through the agenda and everything based on last night, and I put in some work trying to find things. On your resolution 2022-196, have you guys dropped Juneteenth as a holiday for the employees, or you never gave it to them? It's not on that list, and I know you have to approve that list. And is, I mean, literally there. So I was just curious. Number 2 is I spent the afternoon, based on the presentations of last night for the cannabis, recreational marijuana, to look over it and what they were proposing.
Former Mayor Knock, this is just for agenda items. This is not there. The cannabis is not on the agenda.
Actually, that I need to talk to Mr. Taylor, because even that is not allowable. Your public comment cannot be solely just to an agenda item. That's a
No, this is just the first. This is the first public comment for agenda items. Then we have the 4-minute.
I just want to say, are we going to do any conversations about that tonight?
You can have conversation. I mean, you can have a conversation you can state what you need to say for public comment for the regular public comment.
No problem. Okay, then that's what I will do.
Okay.
And so I'll give up the floor. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Knott. Is there anyone else for public comment for agenda items only? Okay, public comment for agenda items is now closed. Mr. Knock, Juneteenth was not a holiday for the municipality. It never was at this point. Madam Clerk, you can proceed.
Ordinance 2022-16. This is public hearing ordinance establishing employee reimbursement agreement and township repayment obligation in pursuit of a certification or license. Public hearing is now open for ordinance 2022-16. Host, you see anyone?
Not at this time.
Public hearing is now closed. This is the final reading for ordinance 2022-16, an ordinance establishing employee reimbursement agreement and township repayment obligation in pursuit of a certification or license. I need a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Anderson, seconded by Councilwoman Worthy. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Anderson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Perone,
Yes.
Councilwoman Worthy,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Whitfield,
Yes.
and Mayor McIntosh.
Yes.
This is the first reading for ordinance 2022-17, an ordinance to increase certain fees and rates charged by the township. I need a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dr. Worthy, seconded by Deputy Mayor Whitfield. Any discussion? Dr. Worthy?
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Mhm.
Thank you to Mr. Harris and the administration for bringing forward this ordinance. I had a few questions. I just had a few concerns. One of them was the charges for the auditorium. I remember that one specifically stood out. It was a nominal difference in price between a nonprofit and a for-profit. I'm not suggesting that the fees should be lowered. I was just curious as to why the increase or the difference in price was only maybe like $40 or $50 between a for-profit and nonprofit for the use of the auditorium. That was my first question. And related to that, I also noticed that there was a suggestion of a surcharge for selling tickets of 5% to 20% in addition to the facility use fee. So I was just requesting some more context on that.
So, so what we did was we kind of, initially there were 4 different classes of persons utilizing these fees. And we kind of tried to narrow it down to a nonprofit organization. And we outlined what that definition was in for-profit organizations. What we did was we just kind of took figures from the established previous ordinance and just kind of tried to levy it across in being fair. There is no real formula that established the difference in, I will call, valuation, other than there was a slight discount for nonprofit organizations versus for-profit organizations.
Thank you. I would consider revisiting the fee structure. I did look at the cost of different auditoriums in the area. Our price is very competitive, so I'm not suggesting that it should be lowered, but I don't think that a $48 difference between a for-profit and nonprofit is very meaningful. If it's $1,300 or $1,350 for the nonprofit, it seems as though a for-profit would be paying a bit more than, I think, $48. So that's just my feedback on that. I also noticed or could you give me more context on the percentage? I see there's a 5% to 20% surcharge for events making money.
Yeah, actually, we were removing that 5% to 20%. That just erroneously didn't get scratched through on this first page.
Okay,
And we were removing that 5% to 20% in all of the different categories.
yes, I
And
saw
just
it on
charging
the,
just a flat rate for the fee for use.
thank you. And also I would request additional consideration for the maximum use in terms of the number of hours. I know it says 5 hours for the use of the auditorium. And just practically speaking, in terms of if someone's coming in and they're putting in a set and they've got backdrops and props and all of that, and then they run a show and then they need to break down, I would suggest more time, even if it's more money. I don't think that 5 hours would be an adequate amount of time if we're actually going to have productions in the auditorium. So I would request that to be considered also.
Okay.
That would be the same for the banquet room. I had the same concerns about the difference in price, the $48. I think that should be reconsidered. And the maximum time I would consider to be higher. I looked at some comparable spaces in Delran and other venue spaces in Burlington County. And on average, it was about 6 to 8 hours was a rental. And some went up to 12 hours. So I would just consider, just so that there's adequate time for setup and breakdown, cleanup for events. I'm just requesting that consideration. And again, I understand that the price may change if it's more time, but realistically speaking, I don't think anyone's hosting an entire event in 4 hours.
Well, if the council would not be adverse to this, I would, after, listening to some of Dr. Worthy's comments, the auditorium isn't really ready and up and functioning. So would you be adverse to just removing this particular element from the ordinance and revisiting it at a later date and time when the theater or auditorium is actually ready to be utilized?
If we're not renting it now, I mean, I don't see how when it's ready, or if it's ready or not, what it has to do with determining the fee structure.
Okay.
That's just me. I'm just one.
I guess
So-
that he would want to revisit it, make sure I think you made some great points for what's written here. And just to make sure that,
Right, we didn't really know how to gauge the value of the use of the auditorium, so we just kind of mirrored the fees that were related to the banquet hall.
Okay.
So,
Yeah,
and
those
you would represent it. And I think you can represent this prior to the theater being complete. But I think, if
Right.
they can just be thoughtful more, I'm not that they weren't thoughtful, but they just make sure they look at other municipalities, see what the going rates are, and try to, at least kind of align with those.
right, and when we were discussing this, I don't think there was really a consideration about setup times and
Mhm.
things like that. But when it comes to the theater auditorium production, more likely than not, there are not going to be multiple uses during a day. Somebody's using it to have a performance, so then they would be really able to use it for as much time as they would need it, but that's not what it says here, and so that needs to be reconsidered.
I appreciate it.
And would some of those, I imagine until the auditorium is ready, some of the events that would take place in the auditorium also take place in the banquet hall currently. So would we have to do a consideration for that as well as, for that section?
And again, that is a very good question that we did not consider. Is there like a joint price for the use of both facilities simultaneously? I guess that's kind of what you were hinting at, right, Deputy Mayor?
Mhm.
Yeah, yes, and it could be used, I guess, interchangeably. So there are productions that happen in the banquet hall since we don't have the auditorium currently.
Well, the banquet hall, if they're going to rent the banquet hall, they can pretty much rent it for whatever use they were going to provide. There are things that we would provide them, you know, as part of the rental, like the setting up of tables and chairs and things like that. But if they needed additional services like screens and, you know, things like that, projectors, then they would pay additional fees for that. But if they wanted to do a production and utilize the banquet room instead of the auditorium, they would still have the ability to do that. But, you know, we just wouldn't set up tables and chairs for those purposes. And then they would just bring in what they would need to do their production. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question, I should say? No.
Yes,
Yes.
I'll say yes.
Can you restate your question, Deputy Mayor?
So my thought is, in the consideration of the timing and a lot of times that the facilities are available for, do those considerations also need to be made for the banquet facility? So should we also pull that piece for consideration?
So I thought Mr. Harris was saying that the banquet hall is already being rented out. They're just adjusting classification of organizations and pricing a number of hours. The auditorium, he was saying to pull it back to give more time to reassess if those are the right fees and if there is enough time given, because they were looking at 5 hours for setup versus in the theater, you're going to have a major setup with backdrops, props, and things like that. So does that 5 hours, is that adequate? In the banquet hall, perhaps it is, but not for a whole production. But I did push back on the 4 to 5 hour rental for the banquet hall as well. And think that, 6 to 8 hours or 10 hours or something might be a more realistic number for that.
So I guess I can ask the withdrawal of the, council, does anybody have any other discussion on that? I do agree with Dr. Worthy that, or Mr. Harris also, that we can withdraw this and it can go through further consideration.
For the auditorium portion.
Auditorium, I'm sorry, the auditorium
okay.
portion, yes.
I have no objections.
I have no objection.
Done here.
Okay, so then we'll just remove the auditorium portion of this proposed ordinance and then
Yes.
consider the rest. Now, Dr. Worthy proposed that the number of hours be increased from 4 to 5 to 6 to 8. Is that something that the rest of the body concurs with?
Yes, I'm
Fine.
okay with that.
I'm fine with it.
Okay, yeah, I'm open. I just, yeah.
Okay, so then we'll just make those changes this here and now so we can go through its introduction
Okay,
with the amendments, and then we can have the hearing and final adoption sometime in January.
Dr. Worthy?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I did have another section. I was looking at the park reservations, and that's on page 25. I noticed that with the fees, I saw the additional hour charge, but I did look at some other parks, and I'm sure that the administration did its due diligence. I just went to look to see how other municipalities and counties were doing their fees. And I noticed that in some places, instead of saying like 1 to 50 people, they made it based on the capacity or the maximum number of people for the space. So I noticed we're saying 1 to 150 people, 151 plus, more people. I was wondering if we want to try to bill it that way, because it seems as though people would just say they have fewer numbers, and how would they really even know how many people are coming? A lot of times, especially for organizations, they have an open invitation. They don't know if it's 150 people or 155. So to err on the side of caution, they may go ahead and just go with the 1 to 150. So I'm just wondering, just in terms of how, if we're not really tracking it that closely, do we want to simplify this fee section so that we're, I don't know, just making it more efficient.
Dr. Worthy, you said the C section?
The fee, I'm sorry, the
Oh,
fee section.
okay.
Yeah, section 2A.
2A, yes,
Yeah,
okay.
D2A. It's just a thought. I didn't,
What is
No,
the
and-
rationale before that, Mr. Harris?
So that's a very good thought, Dr. Worthy, and I believe in part of our discussion, that was an element, how we really know if it's 151 or 152. Those are kind of the breaking points. So we just kind of restructured this ordinance kind of in line with what was prior and just added the additionals for each additional hour. So if you think of it, it is more prudent to just have a flat rental fee, then I'm not object to that.
I would say I'm okay with the breakout for me, it's really how do we account either way? How do you, who goes to make sure, I'm obviously not down to the person, but who makes sure it's 150 or 180? And I think there's no real distinction, I guess.
Right.
Or nobody
So-
would ever go and look at, make sure. And obviously, it can be 100 people versus 1,000, obviously. But
And how do you
that's-
enforce that day of?
right. So if
Right.
there's no enforcement for it,
right.
do we want to restate the fee structure? And, for a resident, it's this amount of money and this whatever additional per hour. For a non-resident, whatever the fee, and for organization, whatever the fee is. And then if there's something about the maximum capacity or
Right.
the maximum number of people that can be accommodated under this park reservation, then perhaps we state that. Because if I'm an organization and I know I want to have an event that's equivalent to the jazz festival and I want to rent the whole park, do I just give you $300 and I get the whole park and I can have 10,000 people? I'm just not trying to be facetious, but as we're thinking
No.
through the numbers.
No, not deemed that way also, but there are several other parks that people could utilize that are not as large as, where the jazz festival is accommodating. So, we could absolutely do that. Just remove the numbers, the 1 to 150, and just charge a flat fee for residents, a flat fee for non-residents, and a flat fee for organizations with a not to exceed of 200 people or 150 people or whatever that number is. Would that be more acceptable to the body?
Fine with that.
So we just have, for residents, there would be a fee of $100 for 4 hours of use.
Mhm.
And we would remove the 1 to 150 people.
Okay.
For non-residents, it would be $300 for 4 hours use. We again remove the 1 to 150 people. For organizations, it would be, maybe $500 for 4 hours worth of use, and remove the 1 to 150 people. And
I'm okay with that.
I am too. I support that.
and then we wouldn't even need the second set of,
We don't need 4 through
You know-
6.
right.
Okay.
So those numbers would be acceptable, the 100, 300, 500?
Yes.
I
Okay,
think that's reasonable.
and then we're gonna move line 4, we're gonna remove line 5, and we're gonna remove line 6.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Question, do we need to restate the motion with the amendments or? Sir,
I think as long as the member who moved it and seconded accept the amendment, you don't have to restate it. So just, if they can just affirmatively say they accepted, we can move on.
I made the motion. and I accept the changes. Deputy Mayor, you made the second.
Yes, I accept the changes.
Councilman Anderson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Perone, Councilwoman Worthy,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Whitfield,
Yes.
and Mayor McIntosh.
Yes.
Resolution 2022-196, a resolution approving the 2023 holiday schedule for Willingboro Township employees. I need a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? I'm sorry, moved by Councilman Anderson, seconded by Dr. Worthy. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Anderson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Perone,
Yes.
Councilwoman Worthy,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Whitfield,
Yes.
and Mayor McIntosh.
Yes. And Madam Clerk, before you move on, I'd like to make a motion for a consent agenda for resolutions 2022-197 through 2022-202.
So moved.
Second?
The mayor moved it.
Yeah, I
right?
moved it. Moved by Mayor McIntosh, and I'll say seconded by Councilwoman Perone. Roll call, please.
Councilman Anderson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Perone,
Yes.
Councilwoman Worthy,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Whitfield,
Yes.
and Mayor McIntosh.
Yes.
Now I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Whitfield, seconded by Councilman Anderson. Roll call, please.
Councilman Anderson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Perone,
Yes.
Councilwoman Worthy,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Whitfield,
Yes.
and Mayor McIntosh.
Yes. And we can move on. Madam Clerk, do you have anything for today?
I just was gonna ask, Mayor, that if it's okay with, you and council, that, that advertisement for cannabis, if I can send it to the paper tomorrow,
Yes, I'm okay.
you
with
wanna wait?
I'm okay with it.
I'm
Deputy
fine.
Mayor.
I'm
Deputy
okay.
Mayor. Councilwoman Perone, do you have a?
What is, I'm sorry, can
Yes.
you just clarify, what is she doing tomorrow? with the
This
council?
is for the advertisement, a re-advertise, well, an advertisement for the cannabis applications, just to make sure the process was in full transparency. Just dotting our i's and crossing our t's.
Mayor, if I may, it's essentially a request for qualifications, that's all. Request for qualifications. Any interested applicant has access to and can otherwise review the applicable ordinance adopted by the Township of Willingboro. And they may apply if they meet all the appropriate criteria, i.e. licensure, site control, presently and or in the future, et cetera.
And I would like to put forth a suggestion for a close date of January 20th.
It's more than reasonable. 30 days is more than, or in about 30 days is more than reasonable.
Just for point of order, honestly, whenever I'm speaking, honestly, I mean, it seems like everybody jumps in because I was just speaking and I recognize that our solicitor had something he wanted to say, but then Deputy Mayor starts speaking. This causes a chaotic meeting. So we need to respect each other under the Robert's Rules of Order. So the mayor.
Councilwoman Perone, I don't think that was, I apologize. I don't think that was the intent. I don't think that was the
I just
intent.
want, just for clarity, because this has happened more times than it needs to happen. And so under Robert's Rules of Order, Madam Mayor, respectfully,
Yeah,
Madam Mayor, okay, you facilitate the meetings.
absolutely.
Therefore, we are to raise our hand or some form of fashion where you recognize the person who was to speak next. In this particular case, I was speaking, I was recognized and I was speaking. At that time, the solicitor jumped in and began to speak. At that point, we need for you to identify him as the next speaker. Then, once he is done, we go back to me. No one else should start speaking, such as what Deputy Mayor did, because again, it causes, for me, aggravation. Number two, disrespect, okay? So, and of course, orderly is not being in order. So if we can just maintain ourselves, and I know sometimes things are topic and sticky and we want to speak, but let's just respect each other and allow for each other to speak. So as I was stating about the question of what we're about to do with regard to the clerk posting this tomorrow, my concern is that the advertisement had already been posted. I believe it was in the date that I remember was October 22nd or 20th or something like that, or that might have been the closing date. So if you are posting this again, and we've already had presentations, which we received 5 presentations yesterday, with the repost, isn't that a violation of those who've already applied and submitted their presentations? And now those who have not applied have witnessed the presentations yesterday because it was live and will have the opportunity to observe the 5 presenters and their presentation on why they feel like they should be selected. Now that we are planning to post this ad tomorrow, that seems to be unethical, in my opinion. In addition to, we did not entertain any discussion from the community, which they are all present here, those who were present here to speak. It seems like we are doing a disservice to the community by not allowing them to speak, and now we're reposting. So I'm a little confused as to what's happening tomorrow. And honestly, of course, I didn't apply for it, but had I been a presenter, I would feel away by that. By now you're reposting an ad where they followed the ordinances and the bid proposals for them to submit their document. So now this question, I guess, is a legal question, or whoever wants to respond to that at this time, please help me understand this.
Sure. Mayor, may I?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. And Councilwoman Perron, your question is, I think, very appropriate. I will state unequivocally that there has been no legal or ethical violation on behalf of the Township of Willingboro Municipal Council or administration in connection with this process thus far. The decision to go out to solicit requests for qualifications by way of formal advertisement in the paper is by no means an admission of any wrongdoing or fault previously, nor does it prejudice any prior applicant as they may apply or have their credentials considered in furtherance of this. As stated by the mayor, this is strictly intended to be as transparent and as competitive a process as possible, so any non-interested applicants can apply for consideration through their request for proposals. Any further conversation or analysis I would respectfully submit would not be appropriate for public discussion at this time. We will and we can discuss it in closed executive session from a legal and procedural aspect protected by the attorney-client privilege. And I will add that, as the mayor indicated earlier, the public is not being precluded from discussing this matter, as they can ask any questions or make any comments during the general public comment section at the later point in the meeting. It is totally appropriate to have 2 public comment sections, one on agenda items, one on general items under the sun. Some entities combine them, others separate them, but both processes are appropriate. So again, any other questions from the governing body about this can and should be discussed in closed executive session under the attorney-client privilege.
So what we're advertising to vote on tonight for tomorrow that the clerk is being directed to do is to advertise for individuals, this is me summarizing if I'm my understanding, individuals to apply their application by showing that they are eligible. Okay.
I'm sorry, a request for qualifications. So it's just, I'm interested in operating a Class 5 cannabis dispensary in the Township of Willingboro. Here's my capital or my access to capital. Here is the location that I currently own, currently rent, and or intend to apply for. Here are the other criteria as referenced in the ordinance as well as state law. And please consider me. That's basically what a request for qualifications is.
Okay, and how different is that from what those who have already applied? Is it different? Like,
again, Councilwoman, I'll be happy to discuss any procedural or other questions in closed executive session. Any further dialogue at this point in time would not be appropriate in public, ma'am.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So, Mr. Taylor, do we need to vote on that, or is just a consensus? from the
You,
body?
just to make the record clear, I would just do a quick roll call. Yeah.
You need a motion first, Madam Clerk?
Right. I need a motion to do advertisement for cannabis with a close date of January the 20th, 2023.
Point of order. I'm just,
Yes, ma'am.
the motion.
Councilwoman Peron? Go ahead.
Again, just for my clarity, point of order. We're going to go into executive sessions to answer the rest of my questions. Why are we still voting?
Because there's other we can still vote on it, you can say no.
No, but whether the no or yes will determine on what I need to understand, but Mr. Taylor stated that he cannot continue to answer my questions.
So actually, Councilwoman, I said any additional questions I would have to answer in closed session. I thought I properly answered and thoroughly answered the questions that you had posed. If you have additional questions, again, there's a motion that's been properly moved and seconded on the floor. I will defer to the chair of the meeting, whether to table that motion or otherwise withdraw it, pending further discussion in closed session, or as indicated, the roll call can be conducted and each member can vote their conscience. But either way, there's no right or wrong in it. There's a motion that was properly moved and seconded. And again, I did respond to the questions that were posed at that time. I did not know that you had additional questions that you wanted to ask.
Well, there was a question that you said you couldn't answer at this time. The question was, how different is it of what's being advertised? What we're voting on is to.
Okay, so then, to Councilwoman Peron's point, then we can hold off for discussion so she can have clarification to make a proper vote. I don't think we have to do it right this second, but by tonight, and then we can get Councilwoman Peron's and questions answered.
Sure. So Mayor, the mover and second can just withdraw the motion and you can carry on with your meeting.
Right, so I'll withdraw my motion.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
I don't think it was seconded.
It wasn't second.
It wasn't seconded, no.
Also, carry on, Mayor.
Yes, please.
Also, as you know, the clerk office have been understaffed for quite some time now. I am pleased to announce that we have hired 3 individuals. We will have 2 starting on Friday and third one on January the 13th. I am hoping to have all of our data closed out by the end of the year with the help that's coming in. Also, we have been operating a registrar vital statistics office, a schedule of 9 to 2. I am the Downer registrar as well. I'm the only one here that's can do those items. So that is actually probably going to be 9 to 2 until further notice, or until we get somebody else trained, or have a selection made of somebody who's already CMR qualified. I'm still waiting for that position to come back from civil service. Also, reorg will be January the 3rd, 2023 at 6 o'clock. That is the first Tuesday of the year. It will be both currently, unless otherwise stated, hybrid at the Kennedy Center and Zoom. If approved, we will go out for advertisement for cannabis if that is approved once we come back out of executive session. Boards and commission, we do have a lot of open positions. We will continue to have that open until the end of the year as well. We will have light refreshments at reorg. I too would like to wish everyone happy holidays and a prosperous New Year's. Barring your questions, Mayor and Council, that's all that I have.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Does anyone have any comments or questions for the clerk's update? Okay, we'll move on to unfinished business. Councilwoman Perone, we have a presentation for the website. I just want to make sure I don't want you to get upset if we just move the Veterans Day Parade discussion down so they can just get that taken care of.
I'm sorry, you said you have a presentation?
Yeah, the website for a website update.
I'm not sure I understand.
A website update from communications. And we have somebody coming in just to give a presentation, a quick presentation.
A presentation to,
Website updates, our website?
I don't think she understood what you were saying, Mayor. You,
Oh, I'm just saying, I'm looking at the schedule. I just want to make sure you didn't have people on for the Veterans Day Parade. I know that might be a little lengthy, so I want to do the website update prior to your Veterans Day Parade discussion, veteran parade discussion. Because you're giving out certifications today, correct?
yeah, I was trying to give out certificate of appreciation.
Yes.
But I did speak with the clerk and she did not have them prepared.
Okay, so we're not doing that today.
So we're not doing that today. And I was trying to get a more understanding of what you were saying because
I was saying, because I'm looking at the unfinished business
right.
and the Veteran Day Parade is listed first. I just wanted to run it by you that we're going to do the website update prior to that. I wasn't aware that the certifications weren't done. So
The website has on the website I saw.
no, I'm saying we're going to have website. Mr. Laurie's going to start off with a presentation for the website updates for the council.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm looking at it now. Website, then, okay. That's fine. My apologies. I see what you're saying. The order of, instead of the parade, we'll go with the website update first.
Right.
My apologies for misunderstanding you.
No
Go ahead.
problem. All right, Mr. Harris.
So if Mr. O'Brien would bring Mr. Laurie into the panel.
Greetings, everybody. Pardon my presentation for tonight. I do have
So
some.
look, before you begin, let me properly introduce you to those who may not know who you are. This is Mr. Gary Laurie, who serves as my executive assistant here in the manager's office. Gary has been very instrumental in helping me facilitate some of the advancements here in Willingboro. And he is going to just bring to the governing body some fruits of his labor as far as some upgrades to the website. So Mr. Laurie, go ahead and proceed. I'm sorry.
Appreciate that, Mr. Harris. Mayor, Deputy Mayor, members of the governing body, good evening. There is, for Sean, Mr. O'Brien, there is a Kevin Strauss also who's an attendee who would need to be brought up as a panelist. He will be giving a more in-depth presentation. But just to quickly go over some of our website updates, we have been working on enhancing our website in terms of the presentation, in terms of functionality. One of the things I met with Dr. Worthy a few months back in September, and we wanted to just look at some things that we wanted to improve on the website. One of those things, we wanted to stream council meetings. We wanted to, create a report of concern button and township forms. We wanted to make those a little more functional for residents or anyone that would be completing an application or any form of document on the website. We have a few temporary solutions in place right now for the live streaming. Folks can go on to the website now, and that is being housed in a different location, but embedded into our website. That's a temporary fix, but we are looking to go into a more comprehensive solution for that, but that will be part of our phase 3 portion, and that will be the same thing with regards to enhanced agendas and minutes, and we'll be working with the clerk on making sure that gets happen in our phase 3. Phase 1 was just getting those temporary fixes. Phase 2 is that report of concern feature. So if you go on the website right now, there's a button that says report of concern. Right now you'll see two documents in there. So there's 2 links that'll take you to a report, a pothole report, streetlight concerns, and folks can go on there if they have concerns about streetlights or potholes or trash. They can click those links and they'll be able to complete those applications and get those sent to the responsible party. We want to have a more comprehensive process for that, though. One that's more aesthetically pleasing. We want to have something that is a little more functional, right? Something that we can manage on the back end. When you get those, it gets assigned to the proper departments, proper follow-ups are in order. And then we also want to make sure that the residents get notifications every step of the way. So once they put their request in, they'll get an update with a ticket number. Once we change it, once we update their requests, they'll get notified for those requests. And we have a representative, Kevin Strauss, who's here from GoGov, who we've worked with, who we've had a demo with, and he'll present a little more about GoGov, what that looks like. They'll provide an outlet, Kevin do his thing, but there's an app for it, so folks will be able to download the Willingboro Township app to do a number of things. And I'll pass it over to Kevin now so he can do his presentation.
Excellent. Would it be possible to have screen sharing permission? Whoever's running the Zoom? And good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. While we're waiting on that, to Gary's point, we do provide a citizen request management solution to a number of municipalities, not only in New Jersey, but around the country. We have about 300 municipal customers. And if I was going to explain to you very quickly what it does, really kind of two thought processes. The first, we want to give a couple of really easy digital ways for residents of the borough to be able to go ahead and submit service requests. And then, of course, on the staff side, we want to give a centralized place to track and manage the items that come in, routing them directly to the departments that are responsible for fixing them, while at the same time giving like a nice set of checks and balances to make sure things are getting done in an amount of time that we're comfortable with. And also, to Gary's point, kind of updating everyone along the way as these things are going. I'm trying to share the screen. I'm just waiting on the screen share so I can illustrate what I'm talking about here.
Sir, do you see the green button at the bottom of the Zoom?
The share screen?
Yep.
Yep. When I click it, it says the host disabled participant screen sharing.
Oh, gotcha. Right, you should be okay now.
All right, excellent. Here we go. Let's go with this. So here we go. So there's really three main components to this, and I will keep this brief for everyone. So two of them are resident facing. One is going to be a branded mobile app. The second is going to be a piece that lives inside your website. And then the third piece of this is the staff software to track and manage. So the first, starting with the apps, this is an actual phone on my screen. What we would do is build a Willingboro branded mobile app. So branded meaning you name it whatever you'd like, and then that's how you promote it to residents of the township. So for example, this is Winslow Township in New Jersey. They call their app My Winslow. This is the borough of Prospect Park. They call their app My Prospect Park. So we'd work with you to get a name that you'd like, to get some graphics that you'd like. And the app will contain all these different buttons, which are essentially quick links to really useful township information. But the main thing we'll want them to be able to do through here is easily report a service request. So when they hit this start request button, what they'll see is a listing of individual types of issues that you want to allow them to report. And we developed this list by starting with the most common issues that municipalities tend to come across, but more importantly, working with your individual departments on the types of things that people typically report to them. So here I'll find everything from like a pothole to tall grass and weeds to like a barking dog. My street didn't get plowed. So we get all these different types of issues listed out. And as the resident, it's super easy. I simply choose the type of issue that I want to report. And then it asks if I have any pictures. I could either take some photos, or more commonly, we see people have already taken them and they grab them out of the camera roll. And then what the app will do is actually pull the location right off of the photo and assume, okay, that's where this issue is located. So now when the staff receives this, they have an address for the issue that they can literally punch into a GPS and get right to it in a timely manner. If for some reason their photo doesn't have GPS, they'll be able to use this map where they can drag and drop the pin or type in the address to indicate where the issue is. And we could even do a boundary around the city or the township, if you'd like, to make sure you're only getting requests from within the area that you're actually responsible for servicing. They then fill out a little bit of information based on what it is that you'd like them to fill out for that type of issue, and they go ahead and report it. They get a nice confirmation that thanks me for my submission. I get a tracking number and the ability to track the status of any requests that I've put in previously in this track request area. So this is just my one service history as a resident. I have a number of different issues here. Here's our tall grass issue. Currently in an open status, this will actually get changed and updated as we go ahead and work this from start to finish on the staff side. So that's kind of like resident facing piece number one. Resident facing piece number two, let's get my different screen pulled up here, is for your website. So what we would do is we give you something called an iframe. So you have your report a concern button, which is awesome. And instead of seeing these two links here, we're going to give you something to place in there that might look more like this, where you could see like the most requested issues here down the right-hand side, all the different categories and topics with the different types of issue requests. It could also look a little bit more like this. This is the one for Prospect Park, where instead of down the right having the most requested, you have your categories and topics here within. But the whole purpose of this is that if someone doesn't use the app and does make their way to the website, we of course want them to be able to easily put a service request in. And that might look something like this, where they kind of pick the type of issue. And then you're presented with a screen that's kind of similar to what we did on the phone, where I can type in the address or choose to drag and drop the pin, answer whatever questions you ask, add some photos, and hit submit. If I do it through the web, I'll get an email that comes back to me, confirming my submission, just like we saw on the app screen there, along with the ability to actually sign in here and track the status of it, just like I showed you on the app as well. Now, again, keeping this very brief, the general idea is based on the type of thing being reported, we've already predetermined which department or staff members are responsible for handling that type of issue. And as a staff member, I'll know I have something new to work on because the system's going to send me an email telling me, hey, you've been assigned a new request. And it'll tell me the type and where it's located and show me the photos. But most importantly, has a link to get me right into the staff-facing part of the software, the third piece. And this is going to be a great administrative tool for not only the council, but the administration and the folks that work on these issues, where I can see here a listing of all the open issues. Which issues I see will be dependent on my role in the township. So everything is like role or permission based. So for example, if I run Public Works, I probably don't want to see all the open code ones when I come in the morning. I just want to see my open, issues in my department. Or if I'm one of the employees there, I probably just want to see the open ones assigned to me. Whereas if I'm Mr. Lowry in the administration office, I'll probably want to see the open ones or a council member across all the departments. We have the concept of due dates based on service goals that you can set for these issues. So the staff can get reminder emails as these are coming due, or so that if they go overdue, we could build out escalations for you. Then there's another screen here, which would be the detail of the open item, which is essentially like an open work order. And without going into crazy detail, we track everything from like the resident service history. So if a resident calls us up asking about something they've reported previously, I can more easily ascertain that information right while they're on the phone. I get a service history by location. So for the address where this issue was reported, I can see all the things that have gone on there. For example, maybe I didn't notice that we've done 7 or 8 potholes here in the last few weeks. Maybe that's not holding up. It gets cold here in the Northeast in the winter. Maybe we want to look, for some sort of different fix so we don't keep trying the same thing. And then to Gary's point, we'll work with you on these different statuses. And the concept would be as you work your items through a little flow, maybe like received, in progress, completed, maybe you have one for like on hold. It's actually going to automatically send updates to the person that reported it. So for example, I have a status of scheduled, which is just an example of a status. And when I set my item to that and saved it, if we look back here on our citizen phone, they got a push alert through what would be the Willingboro Township app saying, hey, there's a message for you about the tall grass issue you sent in back on December 20th. And when they open it up, we get a big blue tag here now showing me the status of scheduled, and then a nice message from the department working on it, giving me a little insight and update, as to, how this issue is progressing along. So have the staff work on these in hopefully a more expedited, streamlined manner, while at the same time keeping the resident that reported to us in the loop without them having to give us a phone call, or necessarily without us having to call them, having these things kind of happen a little bit more transactionally, just as we're all used to doing. And, we order a package on Amazon, it tells me the order's received, I get a notification when it's shipped, and then I get a notification when it's delivered with a package of the photo at my door. So it's very much similar to that. The same thing will happen when we close the issue out. When we close it, I'll get notified that the issue is closed, and then, receive that update via email or push alert. And just wanted to keep this very brief. Just the last thing I'd like to mention is one of the big benefits for the township of using this type of system is going to be the reporting tool, which is once we're gathering everything under one roof like this, we can start to use this data to our advantage. So we have everything from like standardized reports to as many custom reports as you want. So things like open, close by month. Every month, how many items come in, how many items get closed, what's our existing backlog, a very good health check. How long are these taking us to close in relation to the service level we set up? Or we might just be going into budgeting and we're trying to figure out road repaving for next year. I live on Long Island, so not too far away. It gets cold, the roads get beat up. We can't repave them all every year. So using this type of system, I could easily say, you know what, I want to see for all of last year, all of the items I worked on that we consider like a road and street repair. And just this quickly, I can easily pull that information up. Oh, let me just change that real quick. Here we go. And once I get the report out, it's going to give me a couple hundred results here in just a few seconds. And we could take any report like this and have it saved. These reports can be scheduled. So if as a council member, let's say, there are like I'm maybe honed in on keeping the neighborhood clean. So I'm very, very much focused on code enforcement concerns. I could have a report delivered to my inbox daily, weekly, bi-weekly, whatever, with all the, you know, code enforcement issues that have come in. Or the other thing you could do with these is say, actually show me them represented visually on a map with pin markers. Because sometimes like a clustering or a lack of clustering could really help tell us a story. So in my example of these road repairs, maybe these little cluster areas are roads we should consider higher up on a potential repaving versus these other ones that are a bit more sporadic. So in the quick 10-minute version, that's the idea behind a citizen request system. So I'll stop talking and open it up if anyone has any questions.
Thank you so much, Mr. Strauss. Does
Oh, no
council have
problem.
any comments or questions? Dr. Worthy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Lowry and Mr. Strauss for the presentation. I'm very excited about this. I remember in 2020 when council started the endeavor of the website, this was part of what we wanted to see. So I'm excited to see this product. I know that with any change in a municipality in terms of technology that's being released, a large part of that is a change management plan for the employees, for the council, for residents. And I was wondering if you could speak to a change management plan for the successful implementation for a project like this.
Yes, ma'am. It's a fantastic question. You nailed it spot on. Change management. The actual rolling out of this project is very small in terms of effort and hours, maybe like a 10-hour project, including the training. For the change management piece, let's focus on the staff for a moment. We do unlimited remote training, unlimited support for the life of working together, which means that for those users that don't take to it as naturally, we can provide as much resource with like live human beings. We do it remotely, but through a Zoom like this to coach them and make sure they're okay. We often also do what we call like a phased or a soft rollout, where you can be entering issues into here via phone call, email, without necessarily having the app live or the piece on the website live, which gives the staff time to get comfortable in working these without necessarily having the forward-facing tie-in with the triggers of the messaging and whatnot. Allows us to make some mistakes and kind of go through. So we do a lot of coaching in that aspect. And on the resident side, it's really, to me, a two-pronged approach. One being, we're not taking anything away. Like a lot of our customers, well, I should say this, none of our customers have completely eliminated phone calls. It's probably impossible, but what we have seen is customers that used to take 100% phone calls take about 40% now. Almost 60% of their requests come in through the piece of the website or through the app. So it's always important to me to note that we're not necessarily going to take anything away. For the usage of the citizen components, we're going to provide the township with how-to videos. So you can embed that right in your website. It'll feature your app, a little quick walkthrough of how to use it. We also make our support line available. So if a resident of the township did have a question and maybe didn't necessarily call the township, but wanted to give a call to GoGov, someone in our support team would actually take them and walk them through there. So those are the things that come to mind off the question, which is that there's not like we would say we put this whole thing live tomorrow. You're not going to go from, say, 10 requests a day to 100. We've never seen that happen. If anything, actually, Mrs. Worthy, what we would do, we're going to work with you to promote the app once it's live. We make a marketing team available. We have an app rollout plan. We have graphics that can live on the website, go on your social media, press release templates, and we've developed a bunch of these best practices. So we'll really work with you when the time comes, when the staff is comfortable with how to use that part of the software, to really let everyone know, hey, this is available. This is a really easy tool to use, and hopefully it makes their experience much better. I can tell you, ironically, where I live, we don't have this. I'm trying to bring it here because it is really like a whole generation of people that would prefer to do something digitally, I think, where calling is the last result. And that's like a big swing that we've seen, kind of change over the last couple of years.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that. And I really, I like what you said in terms of helping us to bring the residents forward as well and the rollout of it, because to have the technology and no one knows that we have the technology is definitely not where we want to be. We want to make sure that enhanced resident experiences stay at the forefront as we work through our projects. With the phone calls that may not stop, I have seen where I've rolled out similar products where the staff that takes the calls are trained to put it in on the back end so that you still have your alerts and notifications. Is it possible for that to happen with this?
1000%. So we have some municipalities staff a call center with this software. And one of the things is nice, it actually makes it easier for the call taker, because I don't necessarily as a call taker have to know who in the township handles the issue that's being reported. We'll train them on how to like do a little quick lookup of the citizen's name. We're getting like results. So if we've ever interacted with them before, that pops in really quick. And then I just kind of note what it is that they're reporting to us, type in a little description, maybe an address. And once I hit save, the little flow I showed you before takes over based on the type of issue, goes right to that person. And then if we happen to collect their email address, now we're starting to bridge the two worlds, where even though someone called in, they did say, you know what, I have an email address. I get some updates about this via email. So we're now almost converting a phone call towards digital. So 1000%, the system also, Dr. Worthy, consumes emails. So we'll give you an email address that you could forward emails to. So if someone emails Public Works, hey, I've got a pothole right in front of my driveway, they can just forward that into the system. The system will take the text out of the email, any photo attachments, and create a trackable ticket that will get assigned to a staff member in one of the departments. So those are your four main channels: phone call, email, the mobile app, and the piece on your website.
Thank you, Mr. Strauss. And thank you again,
Ma'am.
Mr. Lowry, for the work that you've done to continue to move this project forward. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Dr. Worthy. No, I agree. Council Deputy Mayor, did you have something?
Yes, I just had a quick question. I guess two questions. One on if someone say calls in and reports an issue, if they have the app, would they get the notifications on the app as well?
It's a great question. So to actually get the push alerts on the app, I would have to report the issue through there. However, if I call in and I've given you my email address, I will get all of those same updates via email. So that would work that way.
Okay, so the app, but if you report something via the app, all the notifications only come through the app, not via email.
They come both actually. So the app, you get doubled up, you get your push alerts, and the email is almost like a standard where like you're almost always getting the email notifications. For those that use the app, they'll get the added like real timeness of the push alert to their home screen.
Okay, great. And then also, I know in some of these systems that are implemented, they may require a staff person to triage or to manage the system on the back end. How does that work with this system, and how much extra burden would it be on the municipal employees to manage?
Totally. So just in terms of like system maintenance, upkeep, we do unlimited, again, support. So like there's nothing that you would have to do that you couldn't call us that we would help you or do for you. In some cases, someone like a Mr. Lowry says, you know what, like I feel pretty tech savvy, adding a new topic to report or adjusting who it goes to when it comes in are things I would like to do on my own because I find it easier to just go do it than to call. So we don't see a heavy burden in that sense. We manage the app in the app stores. We make sure the site stays up. The piece that goes in the website is a one-time insert. So there's not a lot of upkeep in that sense. We would definitely not want to be adding responsibility. The hope is that the streamlining on the staff end will leave some folks with like a little bit of extra time versus adding something additional. Of course, though, for a true comparison, we'd have to just look at how these things are being tracked now. So like, for example, does Public Works use some sort of work order system? When the code complaints come in, do those folks enter them maybe on like a spreadsheet? Because depending on what they're coming from would, of course, dictate whether this is like adding something to their plate or maybe taking away. We do pride ourselves, though, Ms. Deputy Mayor, on it being very easy to use. There's only the two screens I showed you are the only two screens for the user to learn. A list of the open issues, and then the detail of a given item where I could add some notes or update a status.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Anything else from council? I do want to add that this is very exciting. Feels like we've been waiting forever, but I'm very glad and excited that this is happening. And I am really excited about the streamlining these processes and requests And as you know, as we're increasing our technological capacity, this is very exciting, and I will be taking this back also to my community advisory board of public communications, because especially the app has been a request. And I think as everybody's using their cell phones, I think, you know, this does connect us, you know, the community in a different way, you know, and utilizing some of our younger residents also to try to connect them to the community. So I think this is great, and I appreciate the work that everybody is putting into it.
Mrs. Mayor, something you said, if I could just add, the staff-facing tool is very configurable. We also have the concept of internal topics, which are types of issues that citizens wouldn't necessarily report. So for some departments that maybe don't do a ton of resident-facing service requests, if they have any process in their department that they're tracking on a spreadsheet, wonderful candidate to use the software for, just for like additional value. Like we have customers do IT ticketing, facilities maintenance, you know, general HR tracking. So just things that you know how it is, these spreadsheets just pile up, because then at least you get the benefit of like the staff collaboration, the due dates, the list of open items. So there's a lot that could be done with this sort of tool.
No, it sounds really good.
Excellent.
So I do appreciate.
One additional question.
Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Mr. Strauss, is there an ability to send like notifications to all of the app users at one time? So say, you know, there's an office closure or something like that. Is there a way that we can send notifications that way?
Absolutely. So what you're seeing on my screen here, this phone is my demo phone, but these are real customer apps. So this is just in the last day or so. There's like an elf scavenger hunt going out. We've got a winter chill warning, a public meeting announcement, another winter weather advisories, water meter readings. And you're able to write up a message. It'll go out via push alert to anyone that has the app on their device. It can also go out via email, as well as be shared to Facebook and shared to Twitter, all in one push.
That's cool.
That piece is very exciting.
Excellent.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you all for having me. I really appreciate it.
I have one question.
Oh, yes.
What is the cost of this software?
Sure. The annual fee is $12,000. Our software we do is an annual subscription where there's no implementation cost to get started. We only do a 1-year commitment at a time. And in that annual fee, we do unlimited remote training, unlimited support, unlimited users, you know, unlimited topics. So it's a true model where if you're comfortable with the cost, this will allow you to roll it out as deep and far as it can go, you know, within the township. You won't have to come back and say, oh, we need 5 more users from Public Works and have to have an item on the next agenda, you know, requesting that. So it's an annual subscription fee, and in there is an all-encompassing for everything that you might want to do with it.
Okay, another question. Thank you for
Ma'am.
that. With regards to the annual fee, is there specifics like locked into a contract for 3 years, 2 years? If you want to cancel the contract within that 1 year, how does that work?
Sure. So our standard agreement is just 1 year at a time. You're only ever committed to the year's worth of service. That is the minimum commitment. And we typically don't write longer ones either. If it's something the township wanted to do, we could certainly discuss it. Like once in a while, someone wants to lock in for 3 years or whatever it happens to be. But Ms. Councilwoman, our standard agreement is just a 1 year commitment at a time. And then if you decided the service was no longer for you, we just wouldn't renew the following year.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Very standard for software now, software as a service, as they're calling it. Just like you order Netflix, like you do month at a time. You know, it's very, very similar concept, you know, brought to life.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other council questions or comments? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you all for having me. Gary, you know where to find me. Everyone have a great holiday. Thank you so much.
You also.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilwoman Perrone, I know, so I now understand you don't have your certificates, but would you still like to acknowledge your team and the Veterans Day Parade in general?
Yes, I would like to speak to the Veterans Day Parade. first, thank you everyone for those who participated and those who volunteered. What I was speaking about earlier is I had asked the clerk to produce certificates of appreciation for those that participated and as well as those who worked and to help bring it forth. With that said, I want to also just share with the community of how much work was placed into putting this together. We started planning in August, and the idea was to include the community from different aspects. So our schools, our churches, our different sororities and fraternities. And I incorporated awards recognition, whereby I wanted to honor the veteran groups that are in Willingboro, and we have 6. And just like any other organization, they select their commander for the year. So they were to receive a proclamation, and because they were going to receive it on behalf of the organization, I wanted to have these particular proclamations nicely framed. And I worked with the clerk in order to try to accomplish that. However, that didn't happen. And I'll get to that part. In addition to, I also invited the Divine Nine, which is the fraternity, sorority, to identify a military representative who served in the military, whether it be male or female. The organizations were instructed to have their own individual meetings and to select the individual for this year to be honored as a veteran and also a part of their sorority or fraternity. In addition to, I was asked, they loved the idea and they were very appreciative, but they also asked, could they have a platform to also honor or give a certificate of appreciation on behalf of Divine Nine, which I obliged and I said, absolutely, no problem. So they selected 20 people. So with that said, Councilman Worthy is of the organization of the Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, Inc. She is. They did not select her. They also did not select her for certificate of appreciation. Veterans Day was scheduled for Friday. She contacted the organization and stated that she was also in the military and deserved a certificate of appreciation. They thought that I set her up.
Councilwoman, I don't mean to, listen, I don't mean to interrupt you, but we're trying to.
You are interrupting me.
I know, but listen, I mean, just listen, we're trying to just
hearing, Madam
talk
Mayor.
about the Veterans Parade.
Again, this is about the parade. Again, respectfully, I'm speaking. Okay.
I know, but
they did not select her.
We can't make this all day. I mean, this is a positive, this is a very positive thing that y'all did.
Again, I do have the floor. Okay, they did not select her.
But not for, you don't have the floor forever, Councilwoman Perrone.
You're speaking over me again. They did not select her. I also contacted each council member and thought of our clerk because she too served in the military. I contacted each individual council member, including our mayor, and I said, hey, I would like to surprise our clerk with a proclamation. Would you be interested? Everyone, every council member said, absolutely, yes, let's do it. Not one council member stated, what about Councilman Worthy? No one did. And neither did I. And the reason is not because I'm not proud of her, because I am proud of Councilman Worthy for her achievement and her service in the military. I'm so proud of her that she had received the recognition in October, I believe it was, where you had to buy a ticket to attend with the Boy Scouts. $120 I paid to go to see her be honored. Okay. I did not think of her in the Veterans Day Parade. Why? Because I served as a councilwoman in Willingboro and appointed as the liaison for Veterans Day, for Parade and Events Committee, whereby everything that I do as far as events, I'm doing it as a council. So we all put on the Veterans Day Parade. I ran the initiative to do it. So far as I'm concerned, any one of you could have easily contacted me and said, can we have a proclamation for Councilman Worthy? But none of you did. But the way you went about it, you tried to create a proclamation behind my back And at the Veterans Day Parade, literally at the Veterans Day Parade, I see a proclamation there that you tried to hijack and sneak in there. So I quickly changed the process of the order of the program. And yes, I presented the proclamation. But what I want to say to all of the council members that are here, the 4 of you, I've given you respect. I called each one of you and asked you, were you interested in a proclamation for the clerk? Why couldn't you have done the same thing for me and say, hey, what about Councilman Worthy? You didn't have to do it the way you did. And even tonight, the proclamation that was stated, you would be remiss. You're not remiss. She was not selected. She was not selected on 2 counts, not by the organization and not on the strength of the certificate of appreciation, which they, by the way, created. So all that I'm saying is, if you want respect from me, give me the same respect as I've given to you. And yes, I've been trying to honor those who have worked to help me put this forward. And still to date, I don't have those certificates of appreciation to present to the volunteers that have worked to help me put this forward. And I find that as a disservice. I feel like that is what's been remiss. And I feel like what has been remiss is that no one, including the township manager, has recognized the Veterans Day Parade and the people that were honored that day, including on our Facebook page. The only person that was recognized was Councilwoman Worthy by the mayor, when we recognized several people that day, but that is the only person that was advertised on our page. And it wasn't enough, because still tonight at this council meeting, you only found the necessity to recognize Councilman Worthy. And so I want that to be clear for those who do not know, okay, to understand that I felt that that was wrong for the way you operated. And I feel that it is a disservice not to recognize those who also have served. It's almost like having a birthday party for someone and you buy a cake for yourself. Oh, it's my birthday too. Councilman Worthy, yes, you served in the military. You are a councilwoman in Willingboro. I was hoping that we could all recognize others at one point in time. Sometimes we recognize others and put ourselves later. That's all that I wanted to explain. And I'm hoping that I could get these certificates of appreciation so I can speak and name these individuals that worked to help bring this forward. So that's what I wanted to bring up as part of unfinished business with the Veterans Day Parade. And I do have another unfinished business, which has to do with the custodial contract resolution.
Okay, we're still, does anybody have anything to say about the Veterans Parade? I do, I have some things to say. Go ahead, Dr. Worthing.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First, I never need anyone to tell me about service, how to serve, how to recognize others, how to take a step back to honor anyone else. I live my life every day serving others. So I don't need that speech. As for the organization that I've been a member of for over 20 years, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, yes, I was not selected by the sorority. Lieutenant Colonel retired Doris Clark Lewis was selected, who is an amazing woman who continues to serve in our community and to help others and is very active in the chapter. And I was so excited that she was selected, and Councilwoman Perrone had called me about 10 p.m. the night before the Veterans Day Parade to give a full rundown of what was supposed to be happening the next day, because the council was not aware of what this surprise Veterans Day Parade and event would look like. So I was finally getting a rundown in terms of what the day would look like. And she asked me, she reiterated 3 or 4 times that I was not selected by the organization. That is not a slight. We are a sisterhood. It is no slight that I was not selected to be recognized. And I shared with her that I was more than excited to be able to present Lieutenant Colonel Doris Clark Lewis with her award, and that she had been selected by the chapter. I was aware that she had been selected by the chapter. The day of the Veterans Day event and parade was a day full of surprises, to include a complete change of the order of program, which I was unaware of, being excluded from being able to recognize my sorority sister, Lieutenant Colonel Doris Clark Lewis, and several things, a program that completely eliminated the Willingboro Township Council, didn't acknowledge the council, and a full page layout of a single council member who was the liaison to the Veterans Day Parade, who was had a full layout in the brochure with no recognition at all or acknowledgement that the council is the one who actually funded the event, and council made the appointments for the people to be able to serve on the Veterans Day, or on the Events and Parade Committee. So there were a lot of things that could have been done better. There are many ways where respect could have been shown. Finally, I didn't recognize myself. I did not write the proclamation for me. Neither did I read a proclamation to myself. I received a proclamation from the council signed by Mayor McIntosh. That wasn't something I authored. And the request that you erroneously spoke about to the sorority, they sent an email and asked if anybody else was a veteran. I simply replied to an email that you're referencing. So I didn't solicit to be recognized. I've been a veteran for a long time. I know what it means to be a veteran. I'm proud of the service that I gave as a veteran in the uniform, and I continue to be proud of the service that I offer to the community and to the nation out of uniform. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Anderson.
So as it relates to the proclamation, I too received an evening call from Ms. Perrone, just laying out the details. It was only after that, when I spoke to the clerk, I found out that our very own Captain Worthy did not have a proclamation. I requested that proclamation. As the senior council member here, I felt it was a slap in the face not to recognize our own. It didn't have to come from an organization, but she sits right here with us. She serves this community in more than one way. And I just felt, as that council person, as the senior council person, I wanted to make sure it was there. I spoke to the mayor in regards to it. And I said, I will put this on me because I think this should be done. And I wanted to make sure it was done. So it wasn't we were trying to do last minute. So when I spoke to Ms. Bligent, she said she had given it to you when I spoke to you. And as you stated, you didn't read it, and that's fine. I have no problems with that. So I took it upon myself to make sure it was read on record because it's deserving and it's the right thing to do. She is one of us. She is Willingboro, all right? She is our colleague. And for her service, she deserves that. There should have not been no dismissal of that, regardless of how it came about. I just took it as it was an oversight, but I wanted to make sure, and I did make sure it got read into the record and that she was acknowledged as she should. And she had nothing to do with it, nor did she know I was doing it. But as a council colleague, I honor, respect, and admire her. And once again, I made sure it got done. So if there's any questions or any finger pointing, come to me.
Yeah, and it was a collective. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Mayor, thank you. I also just want to say there were a number of things that seemed a bit petty during the Veterans Day parade, parade and event, but it was a time for celebration of our veterans here in town. The gesture that we made and decision that we made as a council to rename Levitt Parkway to Veterans Parkway, and to really thank all of the veterans for their continued service in Willingboro, which we wanted to do as a council. So I did not feel it necessary to bring any deficiencies or issues that may have happened, any slights, any last minute notices, anything like that to light, because that was not the intent or the spirit of the program. I do think it is well deserving for Dr. Worthy to have a proclamation acknowledging her service as we acknowledge all of the other vets. And I also wanted to just point out that the certificates of appreciation that you speak of were in fact created and were deemed unacceptable by you and sent back for recreation because the design was not up to your liking. So I don't want the community to think that there was a gross effort to not acknowledge those who participated, served, and gave their time to make the Veterans Day Parade and event a success. There absolutely was time, and the staff made and used their time to create those certificates, and they were sent back because you did not like them. So it is a misrepresentation to make it seem like the clerk and her staff did not create the appreciation or did not make an attempt to acknowledge those people that helped to make that a success, when in fact they did do just that. That is all I had to say, Mayor.
All right, thank you, Deputy Mayor. And I do want to add, you know, it's a shame that this conversation has happened for such a positive event. It was a positive event. And I'm grateful to you, Councilwoman Perrone, and the committee for putting it on. That goes without a doubt. So I don't even understand how this is coming up. You never called me and asked me, hey, what was that about? And so even when you called, it was, you know, in the 12th hour when you called to tell us what was going on. I didn't even think that Dr. Worthy wouldn't be included. I mean, to me, that's a given, but we went along with you. Nobody was against you or the committee, and even working on the proclamations. I was there, Ms. Blodgett and I were there till 11 o'clock the night before, trying to make sure the proclamations were right, the ones you had, making sure they were correct and signed. And we even added Dr. Worthy's in it and sent it to you. So there was we weren't trying to be sneaky or anything like that. I didn't think it was a thing. I didn't think it would be a thing. So your accusations are a little off. We had, I would say all of us wholeheartedly, you know, were excited about the parade, that we were having it, that it was being done. So I'm a little saddened that the positiveness of the Veterans Parade, which we're trying to celebrate, is being kind of murked up by something that was not done in malice at all and not sneaky. We sent it to you on email. Again, I didn't think that it was an issue. I didn't even know until the next day that you were upset that we included a proclamation with Dr. Worthy. I would never think that was a thing. So there was no malice done in that part. And again, we were committed to supporting you putting on this parade. I think you forget that. We didn't bother you the whole time. We supported you. So I want to make that clear. I don't want it to, and it should not be a negative thing. That this is really bothering me. That's a negative thing when it was such a positive event. You know, don't murk it up with this. This is not it. And I mean, there should be nothing against Dr. Worthy receiving a proclamation for her service as a veteran. We service a broader population of veterans than even the ones that were there. So I mean, we service a nice percentage of our community as veterans. So I don't want you to take that as us being sneaky or disrespectful. It was this one, I will say it was zero intent of disrespect or malice in you putting on, you know, and trying to undermine you. There was 0%. I mean, I was tired. We were up in the office 11 o'clock making sure these were done for you. So I do resent that notion that I or any other council person was trying to undermine you. That's simply not true. You know, and I applaud you for the work you did. I applaud the committee, you know, for the perseverance and the effort put forth to put this on. And I think many people enjoyed it. But I think that should be the spotlight, is our veterans and the positive event that you were the liaison for and that you led. So, I mean, that's all I can say about it. But I want to put on the record that there was no, from any council member, there was no malintent at all. And we sent it to you prior to the thing. I didn't think it would be an issue. I didn't know it was an issue till today. But I hope you understand that. And I hope that's clear. Like, there was zero malintent towards you or the committee or towards the process.
So thank you all for responding. And what you speak is not the truth, because Veterans Day was on Friday. I did not call you the night before. And the facts are, I had an inside spy, is what I called her, the clerk's assistant. She was leaving the company. She was leaving the municipal for a new job. She created the proclamation a week before. Yes, a week before Veterans Day parade. And she emailed me and said, Councilman Perone, Madam Clerk's proclamation is prepared and ready for you to pick up. Therefore, if that was able to take place, if she was able to call me or email me and let me know the proclamation was ready, that means the phone call to each one of you had to have taken place before she printed it. And therefore, I contacted each council member 2 weeks before it was created, okay? And each one of you said, yes, let's make a proclamation for the clerk. And what I was speaking of is, at that time, any one of you could have said, hey, what about Councilman Worthy? And you know what I would have said? You know what? I didn't think about her because it's the council putting it on. But if you want a proclamation for her, let's create one. I would have easily said that. But you never did. And I don't think you were thinking about her either. Fast forward, the day before the parade. You could have easily called me as you called each other. Each one of you said, all of you knew about the proclamation. I know Councilman Worthy doesn't realize she said she knew, because she said it was presented to her and she saw it, but she didn't know about it. How could she not have known about it until today when Councilman Anderson is reading it, okay? Each one of you could have called, one of you, even you, Madam Mayor, you could have said that day when I spoke to you, according to you, I called you the night before, you could have said, Councilman Perone, can we make a proclamation for Councilman Worthy? You know what I would have said? Sure, let's create it. But it was the way that you did. The fact that each one of you talked to each other about sneaking it in there, because not one of you said, when you called me and said, can we have a proclamation for Councilman Worthy? Every one of you spoke just now. And in all of your conversations just now, not one of you said, Councilman Perone, I called you and said, what about a proclamation for Councilman Worthy? Not one of you. You know why not one of you said that? Because you didn't. What you tried to do was hijack the event and sneak in a proclamation, which I found distasteful. And that's what I wanted to share with you today. So even with your statements here tonight shows that you never called me. If you respected what I was doing, all I was asking, you could have called me. Hey, even if it was the last hour, can we have a proclamation for Councilman Worthy? You didn't. The only email I got was, can we include her for a certificate? Actually, the call, I got a phone call Thursday morning. Hey, from one of the organizations, we got a phone call last night from Tiffany Worthy. I said, yeah, she's on council with me. Says, yeah, she called and said she wants us to give her a certificate of appreciation. He said, did you tell her to call us? I said, no. I said, please allow me to apologize. I'm apologizing on behalf of council. She should have never called you. And he thought that I told her to call them because he asked if he could present certificate of appreciation at the Veterans Day Parade, which was not a part of my program initially. So he thought I set her up to call him. Therefore, okay, again, asking for recognition is distasteful. That's how I feel. And yes, when I saw the proclamation on Friday, Veterans Day Parade, I took it and I threw it in the trash. In the trash. So you can check the JFK Center and find it there if you want to. But as far as I'm concerned, that's the way you behave. And any one of you could have called me and said, hey, Councilman Perone, let's make a proclamation for Tiffany Worthy. I would have said, let's do it. But you didn't have to sneak. You didn't have to sneak it in there. You didn't have to call behind me and just ask for a certificate of appreciation. Who does that? Who asks for recognition? Okay, so with that said, if anybody has anything else to say, I'm done with that topic, but I wanted it to be clear.
Well,
And
do you
again-
want to recognize, even without the certificates, do you still want to recognize your team? Because I still think they're worthy of some accolades and some acknowledgement on the public record, even without the certificates. They were done, they weren't to your liking, but I mean, we can get that steady, but you know, the clerk's thing is kind of tight right now. So, I mean, that's, again, that none of this is malicious, but I mean, if that's the stance you want to take, that's your prerogative, but.
And I did forget that part that Deputy Mayor mentioned. It wasn't that it was necessarily not to my liking. If anybody reviews the last council meeting, I didn't have all of the certificates of appreciation. I had only a few. All of them, and Madam Clerk is here to speak to that. I did not have all of the certificates, but when I looked at it, I even have it here. When I looked at it, okay, and when we look at the proclamation that I'm sure Councilman Worthy is going to receive, okay, when she actually gets it, she says she didn't get it, but she's getting it tonight after it's been read. When you look at what was given to me, it's garbage. It's not really, you appreciate this person. And yes, I do, Madam Clerk, and I already spoke to her, I want every single certificate of appreciation to give appreciation to the others who've worked hard, the community members that live in this community, that are on the committee, in addition to some of the employees that work here and the staff that work here. Yes, I do want to give them certificate of appreciation and an appropriate appreciation, not garbage. I don't want to receive, don't give me garbage because it's me. I'm not going to allow garbage, okay? Because that's what I received, garbage, and it was also incomplete. They didn't give me the rest of the garbage. So I said, keep this garbage and give it to me the right way, okay? So as long as nobody else has anything to say about that topic.
Councilwoman Perone, I do want to interject, and just like you and I talked, it was a simple action to do a template. It was a certificate of appreciation. So not junk, but it was a simple certificate of appreciation. To me, it could have had a little bit more color, but
I have it here.
right. It was a template that they pulled off of Google. A simple certificate of appreciation. That's all I have to say.
I would say kindergarteners receive better certificates than what I received. I can show you my daughter's kindergarten certificate, a certificate of completing kindergarten, and I will show you what I received, okay?
Okay, Councilwoman, we can
Like
we
I
move
said,
on from this now?
excuse me, yes, we can.
Thank you. All right.
The other unfinished business, during our last two council meetings now, the custodial cleaning service, Lee's Pristine Cleaning Service. I did try to speak at that meeting. It was chaotic. But what I wanted to bring to your attention is that this business, Lee's, L-E-Y-S Pristine Cleaning Services, is listed as temporarily out of service. They're not in service. They're not in business. In addition to, the address that was posted on the resolution is 15 Garland Lane, Willingboro, New Jersey. The residents that live there are the said owner of this company, in addition to the Chief Finance Officer, Miss Janice Peppers. That house, 15 Garland Lane, owes Willingboro $2,345.37 to the Willingboro MUA. They are delinquent. They also, their bill is coming up this December 28th. Also will be owing another, I think, a $380 something. In addition to that resolution and contract that they submitted, they are not staffed. They have the owner, okay, and the chief finance officer. The other individuals are not, there's no one there. And I'm bringing this to your attention because of our recent situation with the trash pickup. We constantly move really fast in hiring people and not looking deeply in what's going on. So my concern is, how can we honor a contract to an individual who owes the township over $2,000, okay? In addition to, their contract is understaffed, okay? Thirdly, Janice Peppers, that name flashed at me. Why? Because when I tried to plan the July 4th for 2023, guess who reserved the entire weekend? Miss Janice Peppers. Not only did she reserve the park, which is Mill Creek Park, for July 4th weekend, she also reserved fireworks with the company and secured fireworks. I had a meeting with Mr. Harris. I said, hey, what's going on? We're the liaison. July 4th is a national holiday. It's part of one of our holidays. I'm trying to plan for next year. How can a resident reserve the park and reserve fireworks? Which resident is allowed to reserve fireworks? And how do I know she reserved fireworks? How did I have her name? Because one of the committee members on the Parade and Events Committee, one of her tasks that I gave her was to call the fireworks company and reserve fireworks. He says, I would love to, but it's already been reserved. She says, by who? Miss Janice Peppers. Miss Janice Peppers is also the Chief Finance Officer of Leeds Pristine Cleaning Services, which, by the way, they owe us $2,345, okay, to Willingboro. Yes, we just approved $300, I think it was $25,000 for this cleaning service. So I don't understand what you're doing exactly. And for the record, because there was so much going on, I did vote no for that. And Madam Clerk, please make sure your minutes reflect that I voted no for this company. But I was trying to relay this information to all of you at that meeting when you were all talking over me. Okay, so I need some answers about this because this is inappropriate completely. So what's, Madam Mayor?
I have no answer for you on that. I don't even think this, Mr. Taylor, I don't think this is, I don't know if that's even relevant to.
They're not in
the
service.
contract.
If you Google them, if you look up that company, it's not in service. And they owe us $2,345.
Mayor, all I can say is, to my recollection, the council did approve a resolution to appoint that vendor. To the extent Councilman Perrone has any questions or concerns about the ability of that vendor to perform the appropriateness or lack thereof of their certification or licensure in the state of New Jersey to perform services, et cetera, that information be presented to the township manager, Mr. Harris, for review. And report back to the body. That's really all I can say. I mean, saying it at a council meeting, I mean, it's appropriate. It's a question. She's reporting it to the body, but I think it would be appropriate to have the administration take that under advisement and report back to the mayor and council at the appropriate time to confirm, verify, and or dismiss the allegation or complaint. And if I can be of any assistance to Mr. Harris, of course I will.
Well, thank you, Mr. Taylor, for that, because I've also was reading through the New Jersey local government desk book, and it says that any contract that we award to must show qualifications. Yes, the lowest bidder, however, they must have qualifications to show the most advantageous of the bids where they are qualified and are equal to the other candidates. This company was not equal because they were not staffed. They don't have, and there was another company that was closer to their figures. But I'm just not understanding how can you can award a contract to someone that owes the township money and they're not staffed. And if you look up the company, Lee's, L-E-Y'(S), Pristine, P-R-I-S-T-I-N-E, clean, it says temporary, not closed. They're not even in business. So I'm deeply concerned, and I would like for the solicitor or township manager to look into this. But Mr. Taylor, with regards to a company that owes us money and we give them money, it just doesn't seem, how are we awarding them $300 and some $1,000 and they owe us money?
Go ahead, Mr. Taylor.
I just wanted to make sure I had the floor. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councilman Perrone. Again, I don't know how much money do you assert they owe?
Oh, I have exactly, the figure is $2,345.37.
Okay, so presumptively that in comparison to the contract, that's a nominal amount. I'm not aware of any prohibition. I don't know why they owe the money to the township, but I'm not aware of any prohibition to awarding a contract due to someone or an entity owing, again, what seems to be a nominal amount of money. But again, I would also just advising each council member, the administration works for you. They work for the township. You, as you routinely and have done in the past, please bring issues and concerns and questions to Mr. Harris and or Ms. Blygen's attention, in the 29 days in between council meetings, so that you can perhaps, get matters investigated, reviewed, and your answer at the council meeting, rather than having to wait another month or several weeks for it. But I would also just generally say that while I fully appreciate and understand the desire to be transparent amongst yourselves, as well as with the community, just be mindful that there are certain ethical and legal prohibitions of disseminating and or sharing information that is the subject of, or maybe the subject of, potential litigation and or liability by and between the township and or other entities or vendors. So, some issues and some complaints and some concerns may be better addressed in closed executive session, in a committee or with the administration versus publicly, particularly if said questions or concerns may lead to litigation, which quite frankly may expose the township to liability. And so I'll leave it at that for now and be happy to answer any questions in closed session if you have any.
It's their water bill. They owe the Willingboro Municipal Utilities water bill.
Okay, the MUA is a separate autonomous entity. I don't see any barrier to them having a contract with and every resident owes money to the utility company on a given month, but that's not a barrier or prohibition to doing business with the municipality, which again is a separate entity to my knowledge.
Right. The number I gave was the delinquent charges. They're going to be owing another $300 once the bill comes out on December 28th, $328, I think I remember.
Yeah, that's fine.
So that's the delinquent charges. But again, responsibility. It says the most responsible bidder. Responsible. If you've not paid your water bill, how responsible are you?
That's
$12 is not the cost of our monthly fees for Willingboro. So that means if you're not responsible enough to pay your water bill, but yet you want the taxpayers to give you $328,000 to start up your company, I just think, again, I think it's a poor choice. I'm deeply concerned. You can look into it if you want to or not, but
The deputy mayor, call point of order.
Mr. Taylor, I just feel that this whole conversation can open us up to
Litigation.
Legal ramifications. I don't think that we should continue this conversation on the record.
Again, as indicated, an outstanding debt to a separate autonomous entity is not a prohibition under the local public contracts law to doing business with the municipality under these circumstances, nor was it a condition to your bid or RFP documents, to my knowledge, or bid documents. Not that condition would be appropriate per se, but nonetheless, I did indicate that the question has been received, Councilwoman Perrone. I suggested that be taken under advisement by the administration and reported back. And just generally speaking, again, when there are questions, concerns about a process, you all are elected to serve the community. And when members of the community bring issues and questions and concerns to your attention, in many respects, the obligation you have is to refer it or report it to the township manager. But beyond that, you are in many respects prohibited and restrained from further communications with those very members of the community that brought to your attention, because it now may be a legal, a personnel, a attorney-client privilege, a litigation, a procurement, et cetera matter. So just please be mindful of that in your desire, albeit in good faith, to be transparent and responsive to the community. The community, in many respects, is prohibited by law, or stated differently, you are prohibited by law from further communications with the community at a public council meeting and or in private conversations on certain matters. So as of now, you've raised some particular legal concerns. I don't know if they have merit or don't have merit, but I suggest that the township manager look into them and that any further discussion cease and any further update be provided to the council in closed session. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And with regards to the water bill, that's public information, by the way. Number two, if you are in delinquent, your house can receive a lien on it, which who would invoke that? The council, okay? So, and my questions that I brought up, like, again, this is my second time trying to bring it up. I was able to get more words out. The last council meeting, when we were sitting there looking at the resolution, I looked up this information, researching it. I'm like, wait a minute. I tried to bring it forth. Everybody's talking over me. So as far as contacting Mr. Harris before the council meeting, I don't necessarily have to. Just like tonight, we read some of the resolutions, we have questions, we bring up concerns. I am allowed to do that at this meeting. Whether or not I want to do it before, if I knew about it before, it does not matter. None of that matters. The point is, I'm bringing it to your attention. The company says temporarily out of service, they owe us money. According to our New Jersey law book, it says award the contract to the most responsible bidder. What I feel responsible means they pay their bills. Number two, they are staff. For me, responsible means you are handling finances, the chief finance officer. You know, I'm just.
Okay, thank you, Councilwoman. Mr. Taylor?
Just again, Councilwoman, your personal opinion is very well taken. However, respectfully, it is inapplicable to the definition of responsible bidder under the local public contracts law. Generally speaking, responsible means that the price is fair and reasonable and able to supply the good or service, taking into account the man or woman power required, the resources, the equipment, etc. So for instance, if there's a good or service and somebody bids, two vendors bid $1 million and somebody else bids 500,000. Well, while you have to, under the public contracts law, accept the lowest responsible bidder, the public entity, the municipality, can actually reject that 500,000 bid if it's essentially an underbid. If someone intentionally undercut the competition and realistically can't provide that good or service for 500 grand because the industry standard is between 800,000 and 1.2 million, let's say. So that's what responsible means. It doesn't mean paying your water bill, respectfully. It doesn't mean even paying your taxes in some respects, to the extent that the failure of either don't disrupt your business registration and licensure, if any, with the state of New Jersey, et cetera. So I think at that point, again, Mayor, I would just suggest that we move on from that. That the
But I just want to make a point of, I do want to make a point of clarification.
I did want, because Mr. Taylor did interrupt me and you gave him the floor. I just wanted to respond to that. Like I said, responsible bidder.
Okay, just wait 1 second, Councilwoman Ferone, because he didn't interrupt you. He didn't. But I also, Madam Clerk, for the record, I know we did indicate that was a yes from everyone for that particular resolution. I just want to make sure that's, that was on the record and you can replay it to make sure, because this was not brought up last time. It was other stuff that you brought up and then you agreed at the end of the conversation.
No, it was a no for me. And I said, I appreciate that there.
Okay, so we'll go back on the record. I mean, we can pull that, we can roll that tape easily.
That's fine. Again, it's a no. I appreciate that they are small business, Willingboro resident. That's all great. But based off what I saw, it's a no. But with regards to responsible bidder, as I was trying to continue, is one, you should pay your bills. Number two, you're supposed to have the equipment and supplies and staff. As I said before, they do not have that. And it shows in their contract, whereby the other contract did have the material and staff prepared. So again, this is just for your knowledge base. Do with it as you may. But again, I'm deeply concerned by your selection. My vote is a no, again, for the record. And that is it. That's all I had to have. I had unfinished business.
Thank you, Councilwoman Ferone. Any other council member have anything for unfinished business? Anything for new business? Okay, we'll move on to public comments. Please state your name and address. This is public comment for any concerns, issues, or questions. You have 4 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record.
All right, Sarah Holly.
Good evening, council.
Good evening.
About the marijuana, when and where was the community allowed to give input? I don't remember reading or seeing that any place out there on the internet or any place else. And where is this marijuana business being proposed to be located? From what I have been told, that two of the locations were pretty near schools. Mr. Taylor, isn't there some type of statute governing drugs in relationship to schools or where children are located? Also, this company, I hear that they're giving out community donations. Now, does this mean that you are allowing them to have a pallet payment in lieu of taxes? Are they going to be exempt from paying taxes? Because if you allow a pallet, then that means that the school district won't get fair taxes. So I have a grave concern about that. And we can't even buy a bottle of wine in this town. How in the heck are you guys going to vote to allow marijuana? Okay. There's no place for us. If I wanted to go get a glass of Merlot, I could not even get a glass of Merlot in this town. But yet we're going to allow marijuana. I have a problem with that. As it relates to Juneteenth, it's a federal holiday. It's also a state holiday. So I don't know how come the employees there don't have that as a holiday. And that's a mystery to me, because that should be an approved holiday, or at least I think so anyway, being that it's a federal and also a state holiday. As it relates to nonprofits, some nonprofits are businesses, and the salaries of some of the managers associated with these nonprofits, their salary is higher than most average salaries out there. So also taxes, for example, nonprofits operating at the JFK, I feel that the taxpayers are supplementing them because they should be paying more. They're not. And half of the so-called nonprofits operating at the JFK, they don't live in town. So basically, the taxpayers are supplementing these nonprofits that you allow to rent space over there for $300. That's a major concern. And, you know, people are getting away with that in town. Councilwoman Perrone, I don't see you there, but I just Googled this company. And it says that this company, LEYS Cleaning Company, it does say on the website, temporarily closed. So I don't know how long that's been there, whatever, but I just Googled it just now as she was talking, and it is temporarily closed. So if there's no legal address for business that the taxpayers, not you, but the taxpayers are hiring, that's a problem. You need to Google that company, Madam Mayor, because it does say temporarily closed. A company should be open. You should have an address for the company, and it should be public. As it relates to the water bill, that water bill is public information. Now, back during the summer, our water bill went up. So we have all these people in town not paying the water bill. So that means residents like me and you, we're helping them supplement their water bill. They need to go pay their water bill like everybody else. If I don't pay my water bill, they're going to shut me off. How can these people go 2, 3, 4, 5 months, as Councilwoman Perrone said, $2,000 water bill? Nobody's allowed to have a $2,000 water bill in this town before they shut you off. That's a lot. That's a lot of money, especially when the average quarterly water bill is about $200. So how many quarters have that been? And thank you.
Ms. Holly, before you go, I just had any clarification for something you said. You're referring to a pilot for who and where?
Well, it's called, Mr. Taylor knows what I'm talking about.
I mean a pilot. You said a pilot.
Okay,
With,
so
I mean,
it's
you were
called,
saying
it's
You're,
It's an
were you referring
acronym.
for cannabis?
Wait, it's an acronym, yes.
No, I know what it is. I'm just trying to understand your question. I just want to make sure we answer it. You said,
Yeah, here.
is there a pilot for what?
Okay, so I wasn't on the meeting, but from
Okay.
what I'm hearing secondhand, for
Mhm.
the meeting that you guys had last night, I believe, when you talked about the marijuana,
Yes.
there was, I understand the company said that they were going to give like community organizations money, which is fine, just as long as if you guys approve the marijuana companies to come to town, hopefully you won't, but if you do, then they need to pay taxes. They do not need to, you should not allow them to make a payment in lieu of taxes. That's the pilot. That's what it's called,
Yeah, no,
pilot.
yeah.
Where,
I just-
which means those taxes will not be used to supplement the school district, which is a problem. So if
You
they're
know, I
not going to pay, if they're not going to pay taxes and just want to give out donations to the community, that's a ripoff for the taxpayers.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure you were referring to a pilot for the cannabis.
Yeah,
businesses.
for the marijuana.
Okay.
Which, if it comes to town, we can't even buy a bottle of wine in town. There's a
Right.
difference there.
I got it.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Holly.
All right, Carl Turner.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my name is Carl Turner. I live at 86 Earnshaw Lane. And I guess I wanted to clarify something that was said earlier with regards to the Veterans Day Parade. I am the president of the National Panhellenic Council, which is composed of the D9, which is the Black Greek fraternities in Burlington County. As such, there was a statement made that Dr. Worthy called me to get recognition at the Veterans Day Parade, which is not true. Being the president and being asked to participate, the Panhandle Council being asked to participate in the Veterans Day Parade, when the awards were to be given, I felt that it was inappropriate and disrespectful to not only the Panhandle, but to council having a member that was not only a part of the D9, but also a veteran, for them not to be recognized. In lieu, I called another council person who's also a part of the D9 to ask if they felt that that was appropriate, and they did not. Did not speak to Dr. Worthy until further after that, after receiving notification that Councilwoman Perrone felt that this person was not eligible for this award and decided to not basically be involved in the D9 giving awards to those who were not getting the proclamations. So I just wanted to clarify that so that people could understand exactly what happened. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Turner.
Pat Lindsay Harvey.
Good evening, Pat Lindsay Harvey, Headley Lane. I've been of the opinion since we've talked about this cannabis that if we're going to do this, that I, like to see our folks that would be involved, because our community was the one that was most impacted negatively by marijuana. There were two companies that had, in fact, they were Willingboro residents. And what I'm hoping is that this is not a play. And what I mean is they both talked about their commitment to our community, but I wonder how much that commitment is. Will they sell out to someone else 3, 6, 9, 12 months after they get the approval? And in that sense, I would feel like we were played. So I hope that is not the case, that if it were to be a Willingboro resident involved and got the approval to have a retail license, that they would be committed to the community and not sell out. I think that's all that I had this evening. I was on the meeting last night and listened to the presentations. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lindsay Harvey.
All right, Martin Knock.
Okay, good evening again, Martin Knock, Windsor Lane. These last several conversations have been, to me, a little off the chart, and I'm a little pissed off at myself because I spent the afternoon trying to track down the vendors that made presentations last night, and I had a whole list of things I wanted to go over. Actually, I'm glad this is opened up because I think you need to take this to the public to make sure that the public is behind putting a recreational vending business in the town. Even though when I was mayor, I promoted the medicinal marijuana dispensary, but I haven't really given it any thought beyond, since I'm not on council, in reference to the recreational piece. And I did spend some time looking them up based on what I heard last night, Googling the folks this afternoon. I want to say 4 of the 5 really got issues around violating our ordinances. I don't know if council's going to override them for the person that I don't know. But when we had to go through 2 referendums in this town to get alcohol, was a dry town, the only one around, to get fine. I don't even drink, and I was out there promoting a liquor license for a restaurant to be in the town. So, because I know that it's almost 50% of the retail business of a restaurant. I'm not going to read my 12 questions I have, but since you guys have delayed it in terms of the presentations last night, but hopefully we have someone that's going to go through those proposals and look at it and see, make sure they're not in violation even of the new ordinances. And Ms. Deputy Mayor Whitfield, you were correct. I went back and looked at some agendas, and yes, it has been talked about to a point of changing, and you're absolutely correct about that. It made some changes, which I don't have an opinion one way at the moment of it, but what I feel is totally lacking is the transparency of asking this town to put a recreational marijuana business here without really asking the people, what they feel and what they believe. Now, you'll get a whole lot. When I was mayor, I had an open forum with that then township manager. I let her run it, and the place was pretty much packed. I just don't believe in towards the end of December at night and so forth, just move on. So I applaud you for at least taking it off. I don't know the legality of opening it up for 30 days. That's what Mr. Taylor is there for, and always had a wonderful relationship with Mr. Taylor. But I can certainly say that this really needs to be thought out. A couple of the presentations last night and their locations, the ordinance that says can't be near a place of worship. A place of worship, a school provider, no retailer can operate 200 feet, which I didn't know, it used to be 500. as defined, blah, 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 any place of worship. At least 3 of them got churches right around them. And it got to be within the 200 feet, or I won't say churches, let me say places of worship, because not everybody in this town has a church. So I willing to spend my time to take a good look at this stuff, but I just want some assurance that you guys go do your due diligence in doing it. And when I hear about the trash and when I hear about the other stuff, my goodness, somebody's got to step in and say, hey, I kind of agree. Responsible business means you're a responsible citizen and resident because we're giving it to you. Because
Mr. Knock, your time is up.
Ms. Balaji, you do this to me all the time.
No.
Well, okay, you listen. Everybody have a good holiday,
You
good
too.
Christmas, and I wish everybody well as we go into the new year. I may even make your reorganization this year. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Knott.
Beulah Williams.
Good evening, Mayor McIntosh. Good evening, Deputy Mayor. Good evening, Council Manager, Township Clerk. Good evening, everyone. This is Beulah Williams from Willingboro. Oh boy, from 8 Botany Circle. Thank you. My congratulations to the well-deserved award to Dr. Worthy for serving our country. Congratulations. Also, congratulations to our township manager for his 1 year of remarkable service for Willingboro. There's a verse in the Bible, Psalm 133 verse 1 says, "How good and pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity." I don't have to say more, but I think it's really applicable. I kept forgetting to thank my host church, the St. Paul's Methodist Church. We collaborated together, serving the community, Thanksgiving dinner. Pastor Jerry, wonderful pastor, host pastor, and the congregation, and we worked so well together. And I just want to thank them for, their service as the Willingboro Seventh-day Adventist Church and again, our host church, St. Paul's Methodist Church, work together. There's a diaper drive that Pastor Jerry told us about. And if anybody within the sound of my voice want to donate diapers to this worthy cause, there's an opening for that as well. I'm missing something, but my brain is not working. So I think that's all then, because I can't think of what else it is. Oh, on Martin Luther King Day, we will be serving the veterans dinner, and I heard a veteran online. This is open to all the veterans on Martin Luther King Day. Our Deputy Mayor will be there and others, and we appreciate your supporting us trying to just do a little something for our community. That's what we're here for. The Willingboro Seventh-day Adventist Church loves to serve our community, and we appreciate the help from our council. They're always willing to show their appreciation for the veterans and for community service. So thank you. May God bless you, and happy holidays.
Mrs. Williams, before you leave, can you just elaborate on the diaper donation, where and when?
I'm going to ask Tarina. I'm going to ask Tarina to bring that information up. She can bring it up faster on her phone.
That's fine.
Than I can.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. God bless you all. And keep up the good work. I think you all are doing a good work. Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
right, Shirley Dilworth.
Good evening, everyone. Shirley Dilworth, 36 Newport Lane. I just have two concerns this evening. One is a concern, it's always been a concern of mine. I'm still very concerned about the amount of debris, paper, bottles, and trash along Van Sciver Parkway. And it really looks awful. Okay? Also on Van Sciver Parkway, near Lorange's Automotive, there's quite a few potholes there. Okay, so I'm hoping, that the township will be able to fill those potholes, okay, sometime very soon. The other concern that I have is about, other types of economic development in the community. Now, I've heard a lot of conversation about this cannabis business, but could someone speak about other economic growth and development in the township? Okay. We hardly ever hear anything about that. At one point, there was some type of business endeavors centered around or connected to the Avery. If someone on council could, speak about that a little bit, I'd appreciate it. Thank you and have a happy holiday, everyone.
Thank you, Ms. Dilworth. Happy holidays to you.
Thank you.
All right, Tarina Williams.
Thank you. Serena Williams, 8 Botany Circle. Good evening, Mayor McIntosh, Deputy Mayor Whitfield, Township Manager Harris, Ms. Elijah, Mr. Taylor, Councilman Anderson, and of course, our community. There are a couple of things I wanted to say and ask in reference to what my mom mentioned about a diaper drive. It's being sponsored by the Maker's Place. It's encouraging churches and organizations to host a diaper drive for the month of December to help provide for children and families in Trenton. St. Paul United Methodist Church, they have a box where they're collecting diapers and baby wipes, and it's located at 351 Veterans Parkway. In light of the unfortunate suicide of Mr. Twitch, I would inquire, are there any plans on hosting maybe a town hall meeting or having something to address the problem that maybe a lot of people, young and old, are going through right now, because it really hits hard. He was a father, a son, a husband, and so forth. So we don't know what people are going through in spite of when they're smiling, what's going on inside. So that's just a suggestion. January is also, as we go into prepare for the new year, January is National Mentoring Month. I like sometimes throughout the year when I hear about people, young people, our children being able to have some time in your shoes. So maybe that'd be something to think about according to what you think. What else? In January, as my mom said, we're hosting our annual Veterans Luncheon and Tribute Service. We're indebted to our veterans, such as Ms. Blyden and Dr. Worthy, and so many other residents in the community. So we greatly appreciate being able to host it at the Foster Military Lodge, and look forward to being able to pay tribute to all of the veterans throughout the township and nearby. I'm sorry. I'm sure it'll come to me. Oh yes, special congratulations and thanks to Mr. Harris. Happy anniversary. Greatly appreciate each council meeting where we get such a thorough report on what's going on. And since the last time you've looked into this or to that, And you're a really dedicated man that we greatly appreciate. And it's been an asset to the township. May God richly bless you and everyone as we prepare to go into the holidays, whether it's Kwanzaa or Christmas, whatever holiday you celebrate. May God richly bless you individually and collectively, your families, and of course, the township as a whole. And last but not least, I want to congratulate Dr. Worthy with the award, Woman of God. We greatly appreciate your dedicated service. You're welcome. Thank you for your time.
And Ms. Williams, just for clarification, the Veterans Day is where and when? I mean, what time?
It is at, thank you for asking. It is at 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. at the Foster Military Lodge, which is located at 351 Charleston Road right here in Willingboro. Whereas, I'm sorry, I said 351 for the diaper drive. The St. Paul United Methodist Church is located on 201 Veterans Parkway.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. You said our hope.
All right, NAACP.
Yes, I apologize. I meant to call in as William Weston, 44 Bosworth Lane, but I will make a statement for the NAACP coming from the national website. The NAACP calls upon state and local governments to assist in promoting and prioritizing economic investment opportunities in the cannabis industry, specifically for African Americans. And I'm going to segue to the Veterans Parade. I appreciate everybody who worked on that parade and that it was able to come off. But I think it would have been remiss not to recognize Dr. Worthy. And Dr. Worthy, thank you for your service. That's something that is very honorable and should be recognized. And considering that the cannabis ordinance, as I've been looking at it, from my understanding, there's 5 licenses, two for I guess dispensaries, but it was passed in 2021. So my point is that that has been a discussion that has happened. I do think it's good that it was reopened, especially from the standpoint of, and I'll do what I can to elicit, especially African American applicants, who are local to apply. But more to the point, it has been a continuing conversation, but I do think it is beneficial to have a continuing conversation, and I'll do what I can to get more residents involved. But this conversation wasn't done in secret. I'll just say that from my standpoint. And that concludes my statements. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weston.
All right, Sharon Anderson.
Good evening, everyone. This is Sharon Anderson. I live at 7 Bellhurst Lane. I am the retiring chair for the Willingboro Providence House Shelter Advisory Board. It has been my honor to lead that board for a few years after our very long-term and dedicated chair, Ruth Alley, abandoned us for South Carolina. I'm very excited because this community board is really looking at ways we can expand to address the issues of domestic violence in our community. One of the things that we do is support a safe house that is a hidden house here in Willingboro. That's why we exist in the beginning. The town has been wonderful to us by allocating $1,000 budget to serve the children who are served by those domestic violence programs. We were stunned this year to find that we had double the population to serve. I want to express my enormous thanks to the police department, the police officers who have come forward to match that and are also contributing gifts to these children. This is just, it was a last minute thing. They pulled out the stops to make this happen. And I cannot thank the officers enough. Officer Bankston, who is our liaison, and Officer Landrum, who works with the community service programs. I really appreciate what they have done. I also want to say a big thank you to our liaison, Councilman Nat Anderson. Through my time in being a chair, he has been wonderful in responding and helping stay connected with the town, with the services that the Providence House needs. I appreciate, I cannot say enough about how quickly he would get back to us and be helpful to us. And I so appreciate that. On another front, we are coming into the holiday season. We might celebrate both Christmas and Kwanzaa. I'd like to make a note to everyone that we have a great gift in our community in a singer, Diane Star Miles. And if you haven't heard her songs on YouTube for Kwanzaa and The Gift, you need to go listen to them. If they're not already there, Mr. West and I will go to A Better Willingboro and post links to these. This is a powerful Christmas song and a powerful Kwanzaa song by our local artists. And I think you will enjoy it. And I want to celebrate what she is giving to us through her skills. I wish everyone a very blessed holiday season, however you choose to celebrate it. And I look forward to a prosperous new year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Anderson. Is there anyone else for public comment?
Yes, Gary Johnson.
Mr. Johnson, if you're speaking, you're on mute.
Am I unmuted?
Yes, we can hear you now.
All right. Listening to the discussion tonight, especially in regards to Dr. Worthy, I have participated in food distribution events.
Johnson, can you give your address, please, sir?
Oh, I'm sorry. Gary Johnson, 54 Gramercy Lane in Willingboro. It's due to my age. I blame everything on age. So continuing on, at one of the events I was at, one of the people who was in line to get food was an elderly combat veteran. That struck me wrong. Here's a man who served the country and has to be in line to get food because he's in those straits. So given tonight, I want to add my 2 cents to the discussion on Dr. Worthy. While I'm sure that we would disagree on many things, I will have to say that while there is no requirement that anyone do so, I feel she has paid her dues and she is deserving of the respect that she's been getting, and probably more. To me, I think that she has been a credit to this municipality, to this county, to the state, and to the nation. And I will add my 2 cents that I sincerely want to say thank you, Dr. Worthy, for your service. And I hope everyone has a very joyous holidays. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Johnson. Is there anyone else in queue for public comment? It is 9:49. Public comment is now closed. Mr. Harris, can you address Mrs. Dilworth's concerns in terms of the debris on Van Sciver and the potholes?
So, yes, Mayor, I hear Mrs. Dilworth's concern, and believe me, debris and trash in Willingboro is a concern of mine, because there is a lot of it, and there is a lot of it that seems to collect very quickly. This is a concern of our DPW department as well, who just in the month of November alone collected 48 30-gallon bags of debris and trash off of our roads here in Willingboro. Year to date, they have collected 1,628 30-gallon trash bags of debris off of our roads in Willingboro. Yet debris continues to return, but we are not ignoring it. We are diligently cleaning it up, but it continues to return. From our parks, year to date, we have collected over 672 30-gallon bags of trash and debris. So this is one of the campaigns that we're going to diligently be working with in 2023 to do something about the littering in Willingboro. I don't have the solution to that, but I will agree with Ms. Dilworth that it is problematic, but the township is trying to keep up with it. As far as the potholes, especially around this time of year, are a concern. We have been filling in potholes as our schedule has permitted, and we will continue to do so. They're not being ignored, but there are potholes that we are addressing all over Willingboro, and we will address those as well.
Thank you. And do you have anything? I know this is not only under your purview. Council has had conversations also. Do you have any input on economic development growth potentials? Any conversations that you can share? I just want to be clear that the council, as well as the township manager, are working towards bringing business opportunities to our community to help with the economic development and ratables. So I'm not to put you on the spot. I'm not sure if you have anything to share on that.
I really don't have much to share about things that we are working on specifically related to economic development. But as you are aware, Mayor, we had a conversation this afternoon on that specific topic, asking if the council is interested in finding someone to physically run economic development here in Willingboro. And I believe I would have a wonderful candidate for a position like that. So, we're ready and willing as the administration to work with the governing body and the community in developing economic opportunities, to move Willingboro forward. I kind of agree with Mrs. Holly when, she says that in Willingboro, you can't even really go and buy a glass of wine if you wanted to. So, maybe loosening it up and offering a consumption license or two, would encourage restaurants to come to town. So, these are just considerations and things, that are future and continual discussions with the administration and the governing body.
Agreed. And in reference to Avery, go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Yes, Mayor. Also, in regards to the Economic Development Committee has been in touch and looking to identify possible candidates for vacant commercial areas in our community. We've also had a number of conversations with developers and potential developers who have put forth proposals that are not necessarily in line with our zoning or the zoning for the areas in which they wish to locate their proposed business. And some of those business types do not fit within the zones that they are suggesting or are looking at to develop on. So we have had some challenges, but I look forward to hopefully adding a dedicated staff member to the administration to assist us in this process.
Agreed. And just to further the conversation, I would say council members are working towards economic development, but with the limited space or the space that we have, we do have to be very deliberate in what we bring and what we're trying to grow this community in. So the conversation, the thought is never dead. We are working diligently towards making sure that we have, our economic development in a good way, in the way that is beneficial to this community. So, Ms. Dilworth, I want to just make sure that is not unheard. And as Mr. Harris said, we are looking to have a dedicated person to make sure, and dedicated expert in the field to help us along. Councilwoman Perone, did you? Oh, I know. I'm sorry. I saw you. I thought it unmuted. Okay. I'll circle back to Ms. Holly with the cannabis community input. I think council overall has really done a diligent job over the last years. And of course, the cannabis talk did not start with us. This was even before we got on council. But we have been following the laws. We've been following the updates that have been happening over the years, and we have, to our best of our ability, really tried to incorporate the community, and even the ordinance is formed off of people who weren't necessarily in favor of cannabis in the township. So we took what their concerns were and incorporated it into the ordinance also. So I think we were very mindful, and this wasn't a fast decision. We've been working on this for almost 2 years, trying to be very mindful of protecting our community, but also being a active participant in not necessarily the trend, but the evolution of the business. In terms of pilots, that is not the intent of bringing cannabis to Willingboro. It will be a tax benefit. And that's not the only reason to bring it, but the tax benefit is there, and there are no pilots. There's no intent to have a pilot as part of the conversation with this cannabis. As it pertains to liquor, liquor is allowed. We've been entertaining different companies. The liquor licenses are there, so it's not an issue of the council against anyone getting a glass of wine. However, we've been trying to get some restaurants. We're trying to entertain in some social establishments to serve liquor. So that's all in the works. It's just trying to get people here. Let me see what else.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
Just to that point about the pilot, I just wanted to add to Ms. Holly's comment. We did experience that on the school board level, where you give money towards organizations in the community, and therefore your taxes were basically dismissed. So with that said, if the solicitor could just look into those contracts to make sure that those monies that they were promising to donate to the organizations are not going to be supplemented to their taxes, whether it's a pilot or anything else, just to make sure that that's covered.
Okay, and I just want to make
Madam
sure
Mayor,
we
I can
don't
tell you now,
miss-
those payments are not related to pilots. The municipal council will have to specifically grant a pilot. This is separate and unrelated to that. It's more analogous to I'll call it a community benefit, or which typically benefits the municipality directly, but indirectly, this is a private, separate relationship any entity would have with a community partner or nonprofit that would not be related to the taxation on the property.
Thank you.
And I think to Mr. Knox's point, you are still more than welcome to continue the discussion with cannabis. I don't think us delaying A decision right now prohibits any conversation during public comment or any questions that you have concerning the process or even what was discussed on Monday, December 19th. Many of the things you brought up, we did look at throughout the year. So, and this was broader. We had it in open public meeting during the planning board. Again, not everybody who we talked to were advocates for cannabis, but we did take the time to listen to them and incorporate their concerns in our ordinance. So I just want to put on the record that I do think that we were very thoughtful and diligent in what we were submitting, albeit it may not be perfect, but what ordinance is perfect? I mean, and as indicated before, we are kind of going into some uncharted territory, but I think we have really put fried our brains and really trying to make sure that we are protecting our community and we are, representing our community. So I just want to make sure that is on the record. If anyone else I don't know if I missed anything. Madam Clerk, I just want to also see if next month is National Mentoring. Can we see if we can get an acknowledgement for that. Councilwoman Perrone.
Yes, one thing that was missed that I think needs to be definitely addressed is the Carl Turner, president of the Divine Nine. For clarity, Mr. Carl Turner is the president of the Divine Nine. However, I did not work with him directly in the plannings of the involvement from the Divine Nine. There were two other representatives that I worked with, and one of the representatives did call me Thursday morning and said they received a call from Councilman Tiffany Worthy asking to receive a certificate of appreciation. And just for clarity, the council gave proclamations from the Township of Willingboro. We did not give certificates of appreciation. The certificates of appreciation came from the Divine Nine. They were to submit it in advance and they gave 20 names. Of the 20 names, Councilman Tiffany Worthy was not a part of those names. So once that was done, she recognized she was not selected by the Delta sorority to receive a proclamation. She was not selected, as she stated earlier. She then contacted the Divine Nine representative and asked for a certificate of appreciation, and he called me. And I have no reason to lie about this. I have two daughters and I love them dearly. If I am lying about what I'm saying, may the Lord take them tonight. She called these representatives, one individual, and I will not speak of their name, and asked for a certificate of appreciation from the Divine Nine, and they called me thinking that I asked her to do so. So for clarity, I said to them, I did not ask her to do that, and I apologize on behalf of the council. So therefore, Mr. Turner did not call me and ask me, can she receive a certificate? I received a call from the other two representatives that were in the plannings of giving me the data of the names that were selected. That is who she called. She didn't call Mr. Turner. She called the other two representatives, okay, for the record. And I found that that was distasteful. And that is why I took the proclamation that was slipped in amongst the others and threw it in the trash. In closing, as I stated, she received a recognition from the Boy Scouts in honoring of her services as a veteran, as a leader in the community. And therefore, I paid $120. None of the people who spoke today attended those meetings. None of the people who spoke on the public time for speaking bought a ticket to go to her event. So they can be thankful she served the community, but they did not pay $120 to see her be recognized. Who paid? I did. Why did I pay to see her be recognized? Because I am proud of her. So understand, it's the principle of how you receive a recognition. I have no problem recognizing someone in their achievement, but let's do it the right way. You could have easily, any one of you, except for Councilman Worthy, and asked for a proclamation to be made in her name. You did not have to sneak and do it. Thank you.
And I also want to address, I did miss Pat Lindsay Harvey. I know you have concerns to make sure some of the applicants aren't just putting Willingboro residents as just a face. So we will make sure we look into that, making sure that whoever is applying and presenting as that they're committed to Willingboro, that they follow through with that. I'll work with Mr. Taylor on that to make sure that, to see what we can do to ensure, people presenting their commitment and making sure they stick to it. Council, was there anything else that I missed? Okay, we can move on to council comment. Any council have any comment?
Yes, I do. I'd like to begin by, thanking everyone, our residents, for sticking with us through the year, chiming in, giving your valued input that allow us to move in a better direction and to move together. I also like to, thank my council colleagues for a successful 2022. We had our bumps in the roads, but the end of the year, the mid-year to the end of the year, ended much better once we implemented the prayer. We did our best to respect each other, but of course, just like with any family, you're going to have your ups and downs. But I would like to most definitely thank our mayor for her leadership, her guidance, her fairness, and making sure, that we stay the course. So I want to say thank you to my colleagues, to the mayor. I'd like to thank Mr. Harris, congratulate him on his 1-year anniversary. Thank the staff for the job that they've done, because they are the ones that allow us to move as a unit. So I just want to make sure, I show my appreciation for all of those who put in that blood, sweat, and tears to keep Willingboro moving. Also, I'd like to congratulate Team Worthy and ATAP, Echo Warriors. I read an article today that you guys received $72,000, a grant from the Philadelphia Flyers, the hockey team. Congratulations on all that you do over at ATAP as Team Worthy, Doctor and Doctor. I appreciate what you do for this community, your love, your support. Just keep up the good work. Happy belated birthday to my dear friend, Mr. Rich Bavogel. I know your birthday was on the 19th, but I figured I'll hold off to tonight's meeting. So happy birthday. This is going to be the last time I actually get to do it in a public meeting, since your retirement is coming upon us quickly. And I'd just like to thank the Willingboro community for everything you do. Have a happy holiday and a better new year. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Anderson.
Oh, hold on. I'm getting a look. Thanks, Miss Bligent.
Yeah, but she gave you the look. You got the look. I was like,
Thank you, Miss Bligent, for holding council together, to making sure, we get what we need with your short staff. I apologize, but when I saw that look and I saw the name wasn't on my paper, I wanted to make it right. Thank you.
Any other council member for closing comments? Dr. Worthy?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Want to say thank you to my council colleagues for 2022 year of progress. And echo the thank yous that Councilman Anderson already shared. I did want to remind the public that boards and commission seats are available. Please put in your names. Just fill out the citizen leadership form and submit that, so that we can fill the boards and commissions and you have an opportunity to continue to serve this community. I want to say thank you to the administration and to, I think it was Public Works, but whoever put those lights in JFK parking lot. We had received quite a few complaints about how dark it was out there. So I appreciate the fast response and lighting up our the parking lot. And finally, I wanted to read Matthew 5, verses 14 through 16. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden, nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand, and it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is heaven. And I read that as a reminder to everyone to let your light shine. Do what you have been called and purposed to do. Be uniquely you. And know that when you're shining, others around you shine. And when you shine, it illuminates darkness. So I encourage everyone to just continue to be uniquely them, whoever you may serve, however you serve them. Be committed to your service and continue to be encouraged to live your life in purpose and on purpose. I hope everyone has a happy holiday season, happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, happy Kwanzaa, and I look forward to seeing everyone at the reorganization meeting. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Dr. Worthy. You're the council person with closing comments? No, okay. Well, I would just like to especially thank my council and administration and our legal team for the work we did. As Councilman Anderson said, we do have some bumps, but I am still proud of the progress we're making and, look forward to further progress next year. I know we tend to hang on some of the negative stuff that happens, but I am very grateful that I am reminded consistently and constantly, from residents every day that they love where they live, that we're doing a good job. We are, they are happy to come home to this place. I've gotten less and less complaints about trash. So we are moving in the right direction. There is no perfect structure and there's no perfect, community, but I'm very proud of the work and the diligence that we put forward to make sure that we can handle what we can handle. And yes, there are blind spots, and yes, there are open spots, and yes, there are fails, but I am extremely proud of the work we do. And I do get the feedback from many residents as I do weddings, as I'm in a community, as, talking to people one-on-one. The overall, and this is the truth, the overall consensus is that people are very proud to be here. And with all the infrastructure issues and all, not issues, but things that we need to handle as a council, we still have to be mindful of the spirit of this town. And I will always preach that we have to take care of each other. We have to look out for each other. We don't know what people are going through. You have to have empathy for each other. We are in a community. We are in this space together. And I think we just need to make sure we continue to have that borough pride. We continue to love one another. I think that's very important. We have many differences, but we really need to make sure we continue to support each other, love one another, and make sure, we look out for each other as a community. So I am grateful. I am grateful for the residents. I am grateful to have served as mayor this year. And I appreciate everyone, and Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Make sure you do come out to our first meeting of the year, January 3rd, 6 p.m. at the JFK Center. It'll be refreshments. It will be a good time. So again, Happy Holidays. Councilman Anderson?
Yeah, I just got a text message from Santa Claus. So I just want to thank all three gentlemen who rode on the fire trucks during that cold weather, wishing everybody in town happy holidays, Merry Christmas.
And your mayor and deputy mayor on the back of the truck too.
I would like to thank all of y'all, Santa and his elves.
Elves. No, and I thank you for reminding me of that. I have to say public safety, especially the fire, EMS and police did a phenomenal job in logistics with that. It is a huge endeavor. However, I will say that people were happy to come out, the kids and adults. Adults came out with no clothes, half clothed, looking for Santa. And it was freezing out that day. So, I got to pop my collar, me and deputy. It was a little cold. It was a little freezing, but we toughed it out. But I'm appreciative of the logistics and what was the app that they had to follow Santa. That was phenomenal. And I think it's a good look and people were following it. So I thank you for reminding me, Councilman Anderson. Kudos to that staff for pulling that off all day, 2 Saturdays ago. I'm really appreciative of them making accommodations for us to participate also. Madam Clerk.
Resolution 2022-202, a resolution authorizing executive session. Sir Solicitor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The reason for the executive session is to discuss matters covered by the attorney-client privilege pending and/or anticipated litigation and contract negotiation related issues. Minutes will be kept and released to the public if and when need for confidentiality no longer exists. And action may be taken by the council when it reconvenes in public session. And let me also add, personnel will be reviewed in a closed executive session. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
I need a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dr. Worthy, seconded by Councilman Anderson. Roll call.
Councilman Anderson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Perone,
Yes.
Councilwoman Worthy,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Whitfield,
Yes.
and Mayor McIntosh.
Yes.
Ms. Lauren, I'll be sending you an email shortly. See y'all in a few.
Madam Clerk?
I need a motion to come out of executive session, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Whitfield, seconded by Dr. Worthy. Roll call?
Councilwoman Perone,
Yes.
Councilwoman Worthy,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Whitfield,
Yes.
and Mayor McIntosh.
Yes. I need a motion.
I'd-
For
I'd like
RFQ.
to make a motion to re-advertise the cannabis application with a close date of January 20th.
Second.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Whitfield, seconded by Councilwoman Perone. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Perone,
Yes.
Councilwoman Worthy,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Whitfield,
Yes.
and Mayor McIntosh.
Madam Clerk?
Resolution 2022-203, resolution accepting the terms of separation agreement, Willenboro Township versus Walter Howard. I need a motion, please.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Whitfield, seconded by Councilwoman Perone. Discussion?
Discussion.
Councilwoman Perone?
I feel that any and all individuals should be held accountable for their actions. For that, this vote will be no.
Thank you, Councilwoman Perone. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Perone,
No.
Councilwoman Worthy,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Whitfield,
Yes.
and Mayor McIntosh.
Yes.
Continue, Mayor.
Yes, please.
I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Whitfield, seconded by Councilwoman Perone. All in favor?
Aye.
No nays? Have a great evening. Thank
It
you
is
so much.
10:53.
Merry
Yes.
Christmas, everyone.
Merry
Merry
Christmas.
Christmas,
Merry
Councilman.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas.